preface to everybody who's watching, not listening so much. It is now summery.
So hot.
And this little box is like a little purgatory box.
Hell. It's hell.
Yeah, it's hell. So if you see me
not
sweating,
the Dante hell where everything gets colder as you get farther down. It's like the classic
like
stereotypical
hell.
Like
Yeah,
actual hell, as you all know, having been there.
So just be forewarned.
As we start sweating, no, that's what's going on.
If you hear beads of sweat drip onto the mics.
Some good ASMR content.
But I guess welcome back, guys.
Welcome back, y'all. It's hot and we're here.
Yeah, it's hot and we're here. Welcome back to Splice Splatter, the film podcast where
classic horror
meets modern gore. Oh my god, I flipped the script.
I was not ready for that. That completely took me by surprise, Al.
Do you know who you are?
No. Do I know who we are?
We have Siena.
We have Al. We flipped the
That
script
was
again.
It's gonna be a goofy one.
It's gonna be a goofy one.
It's gonna be a funny one.
Already.
A funny game.
Yeah, it's gonna be. We're gonna have some fun. We're gonna have some games. They're gonna be funny. They're gonna be sadistic.
Yeah. Before we jump into that, I want to take a moment because this is gonna come out before. Obviously, it's coming out before the Mother's Day episode.
Time's not real again.
Yeah,
you have trouble with it.
And also, are you listening in chronological order? We don't know. But we're playing Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho at the Jean Cocteau Cinema on May 10th, 11th, and 12th for Mother's Day.
God damn right we are.
Yeah.
And we're doing a special Mother's Day pairing for you, which some of
next
you...
Next time.
Yes. Not today, but for Mother's Day, which some of you listening already voted in the polls for.
Thanks for voting. We literally couldn't decide, so it was extremely helpful.
I was torn between two of my favorite movies that both have different takes on the concept of mommy.
Yeah.
So
that's what it was.
Yeah. We were choosing between Suspiria and Rosemary's Baby. Both will happen at some point on the podcast.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
But we're holding Suspiria for now. We're going to do Psycho and Rosemary's Baby next time for Mother's Day. It's going to be a great pairing. I feel like that's also fun because one is the child and one is the mother. The two different perspectives. So, yeah. Cute.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Also, who has mommy issues in the room? Me.
Who doesn't? What human alive doesn't? Is it
parental?
Possible?
I think millennials
Not to bring my food out.
Yeah.
Okay, rein it back, Sienna. Rein it back.
No food.
We're
not
at Film Theory Rant Corner yet.
Yeah, today we're
what are we doing today?
brutal.
We're getting brutal. We're getting
I keep forgetting the name of I'm doing The Strangers.
We're doing
2008.
Because we have a new The Strangers coming out in about 2 weeks from when this episode drops.
Yeah, it's a 3-parter, and I didn't realize that. So
I didn't realize
they wrote it, and it was like, from the gist, nobody quote me on this, okay?
Wow.
From the gist that I got online, and by the gist I got online, I mean the one sentence thing that I read.
Amazing.
and the Wikipedia. It's broken up in 3 chapters, so it's like Strangers chapter 1, 2, and 3. The first one's in May, the next one's in fall.
Oh.
And then I don't know when the other one is.
Question mark. So did they do this in kind of a Ty West shooting X and Pearl type of thing where they shot the two of them together and then released them separately?
No.
Oh.
I want to say I think I read that.
That we're going to go with
But
yes.
I don't know.
I'm deciding that the answer to my own question is yes.
But yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. So
I love that.
But yeah, Strangers and funny games.
We're doing the 1997 version. This is one of those cases where you could really choose either of the versions of Funny Games.
I'm not gonna lie, I wanted to watch the Michael Pitt one. So
of course you did.
bad.
It's from 2007, Al.
I know. Well, technically, Strangers is too. It was supposed to come out in 2007.
Ow.
I know.
Ow.
I know.
Come on. I know. Yeah. Well,
but
I mean,
1997. Also good year.
1997. Also good year. Year I was born. Part of why I chose to do this version.
I was 89. That's so weird.
That's not that long ago.
Okay.
Okay. Moving on.
It was. Well, that's fine. My 20-year high school reunion is coming up too fast.
So let's see. I have kind of a double tidbit.
I was going to say, tidbit time.
Yeah, tidbit time. Tidbit time. Do you have
I do.
Oh.
I got one. It's highlighted.
Ah, I love it. Do
I
you
have
want to go
2
first?
technically.
I also have 2 technically.
One's not related.
One is related, but it's not really a fact.
Okay.
We'll We'll see.
Me first?
Yes.
Well, one...
Bit first, then tid.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to do my bit first, because my bit first was something I saw on TikTok that I wasn't going to say, and now I'm going to say it.
Love it.
Did you know in E.T., this is totally
Love
not
where
related.
this is going.
There was a person in the costume.
How?
There was a person that didn't have legs that was just in the costume, and they acted in it.
Oh,
so I thought it was an animatronic the whole time,
Oh my
and it wasn't the
God.
whole time.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
No wonder it has such a
Life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's life.
Yeah.
Look
so
at
there
that.
was a cute picture of him when he was a kid, and then him when he's an adult. I don't know if it was an anniversary or his birthday or something like that. So happy birthday, bro.
Was it a child actor? At the
Uh-huh.
time? That's so cool.
Isn't that funny?
Oh my
It makes
God,
sense
I
why
love that.
also just probably 10-year-old doesn't know how to move its body.
Probably not. Yeah.
So.
Which feels
But yeah, isn't
fitting
that funny?
for an alien.
I had never put one and two together to say that. And the internet was also shocked, so I'm not alone.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So
No,
that's
I
my
had
bit.
no idea. That's a great bit.
Cool.
Still horror related. It's like
Yeah.
SFX.
I love
It's
E.T.
Oh,
Yeah, honestly, horrifying at points.
Yes.
When he's dying,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
horrifying. Him screaming in the little trees in the beginning is that's my R2D2
That was
impression.
so good.
That
was iconic.
I'm really good at it for some reason. So, anyways, what's yours?
So first tidbit,
Let's get off this topic.
Are you saving your tid for later? Is that
No.
what we're doing?
I was gonna just alternate.
Oh, alternating.
Yeah.
I see.
Or unless yours go together.
No, do you want my tid or my bit first?
I want your bit first.
My bit first?
Yeah.
Well, Beavis and Butthead, huge part of this movie.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure you already know that Mike Judge grew up in Albuquerque.
Did not.
Oh, yeah. Mike Judge,
Nope.
creator of Beavis and Butthead, grew up in Albuquerque. So my non-fact bit is, therefore, by the logic of this universe, without Albuquerque, New Mexico, you do not get funny games. So you're welcome, Michael Haneke.
You also don't get that brilliant SNL skit with Ryan Gosling when they just did Beavis and Butthead.
True.
Did you see that?
I did.
It was so funny.
So New Mexico responsible for Beavis and Butthead, Ryan Gosling, and Michael Haneke.
New Mexico's responsible for Ryan Gosling.
I claim it.
For no reason.
Yes.
That's so stupid.
It's a bit.
That's
not
a good.
a tid.
It is a bit. So okay, if we're gonna go tid,
Give me your tid. Give me your tid.
It's a bit again. It was one of those things where it's I didn't know where to put this. I can't get over New Mexico's responsible for Ryan Gosling.
We have very little to be proud of. I'm gonna claim what we have.
Why are we responsible for him just because he was in an SNL skit?
Because Beavis and Butthead. It's really hot in here, you guys.
You guys, the brains are melting. Actually, I feel like I have my death clock shirt on because I just went to the concert and they have so many little melting brain imagery in there.
Oh,
So
good, perfect. It's
us.
me. Yeah.
So my tid is
hit me with that tid.
The scene where the masked man breaks through the door with the axe is obviously a direct.
Yeah.
It, again, is a tid. It's not
it's
this,
a Shining.
Yeah, but it was
doing a Shining
perfectly, and her scream too. Yes. She probably loved playing into that. She's I have my moment to be Shelley Duvall.
I love.
I know. I have a moment of talking about her.
I had not looked up The Strangers at all before watching it, so I did not know that she was in this movie, and it was such a delight and a surprise to see her name pop up on screen.
Oh,
yeah, I just adore her.
Have you not seen it?
I hadn't seen this before. No. And you'd seen both, right? Let's start there. Oh wait, no, I haven't given you my tid.
Yeah, give me your tid, and then we'll.
Okay.
I know I want to jump. I want to jump in because I feel I have lots to say.
I have lots to say this episode as well.
Dutch Bros sponsor me.
Yes,
if you guys see, if you hear clanking around, it's my Dutch Bros. I need it.
Product placement.
Yeah.
Ding. So, while shooting the exterior sailing scenes, and again, this is a tidbit that is a tidbit because I couldn't figure out where else to put it in my notes.
It. Yeah.
And also because it's hilarious. So, in order to shoot these sailing scenes, they had to have the actors on one boat and then the camera and Michael Haneke on another boat.
Yeah.
While shooting the sailing scenes, the boat with the camera and Michael Haneke sunk. So, yeah, they had to send in rescue divers for them.
No.
Completely
Were they just holding the camera above their head?
Destroyed the brand new camera.
No.
Yep.
And all the footage?
Presumably.
I would be horrified.
Yeah. So we can laugh about it now from the perspective of 26 years post 1997.
Yeah. Oh my
Just
God. That like
particularly-
hurts.
And particularly given what a sadistic, brutal movie this is, I just love the image of Michael Haneke on like his beautiful sailboat in the middle of this like Austrian lake, just like slowly sinking.
Slowly, just like help, help. Did they have too many fucking people on there? Because I have like this inkling that they were like, that's fine, we could just.
That sounds not implausible. Well, and it's great because it comes from, I watched it on the Criterion channel.
I bought it. I was lazy. I was too lazy to log into another thing.
Ow!
It's easier just to pay. I'm so sick of like logging into things.
You're like, I cannot deal with one more password.
I was like, I can go boop, and I bought it.
If it accepts my fingerprint, yes.
Yeah.
If it requires typing, no.
With my finger, no.
Yeah. With my finger, no.
But yeah, you got all the goodies with the Criterion.
I got all the goodies, and this came from an interview with Arlo, the actor who plays Paul.
I'm gonna be honest. This was one of those films where I have like no idea the names. Okay.
It's the main sadistic invader, the one who keeps looking at the camera.
Oh yeah.
So you've got Peter and Paul. Paul keeps calling Peter fatty.
Yeah.
So
Peter is the blonde one.
Peter's the blonde one.
Did he not look like what's his name? I wrote it down. Taran Killam from SNL.
He does.
I took a screenshot in case you didn't know. I was like,
no, I know
exactly
who you're talking about. I never put that.
I had to Google
him
right because I couldn't think of his name.
That's.
Do you remember him from the? I'm talking about SNL a lot. The SNL Cinderella skit where there was like
Real
House, and he was like, "Aha!"
Oh my God!
I had to look up SNL cast member, "Aha!" and to find him.
How did that search go for you?
I found him.
The internet's getting better.
The internet is great.
It's since the advent of AI, searching has gotten a lot easier, which is scary.
Yeah, those two were I don't want to get too far. I know you
No, but
tee it off, but yeah.
Point being, just came from an interview with the actor who played Paul, so like the biggest sadist in the cast. Yeah. He's like trying to describe this story from 20 years ago, and as he's describing it, he's like holding back laughter, and at some point, he just like bursts out cackling.
Oh my God, amazing! Like, what a great
You
interview.
guys had too much fun making funny games.
Yeah.
So let's dive into funny games, shall we?
Yes, please.
Tell me about your first time seeing this. You said that this was a rewatch.
Yeah, I don't remember. I just know that at some point I watched it because I watched it in prep to watch because I was late to the remake one.
Oh.
Never got to watch the remake one, so I really want to watch
the
it
remake
now.
Either.
I've seen clips because again, Michael Pitt is just, and I remember when that coming out made me go back and watch the original. I don't have much memory, so this kind of felt like a first watch. Is it like, or it's my brain? We've talked about this. My brain likes to lie to me all the time.
Memory is a lie. Time, memory, none of it's real.
Memory is just made up.
There you go. Conclusion.
You can't actually. Anyways, I'm gonna get too existential. But
again, it's very hot in this room.
Yeah. And so was this your?
This was my second time watching.
Second time.
I think the first time was. I know I was already in Chimayo, so it must have been in the past 2 years.
Oh wow!
So it was pretty recent-ish by comparison. I don't remember exactly when in there. I watched this with an ex and remember my ex being absolutely horrified as I sat there, and by like about
giggling.
I was laughing the whole time out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Which I don't think is the reaction Michael Haneke wants us to have to this movie, actually. I don't think that's what should be happening. But I love this movie. I had a great time with it.
Good.
I found it even funnier the second time around.
It is called Funny Games.
It is called it's a fun time.
Can we pause for 2 seconds?
Please.
Me and Trav were talking this morning about Funny Games and like what it would be like if Funny Games, because he was like, what else did the director do? And I was like, oh, Funny Games the remake. And he was like, that's not funny. And I was like, no, he did. So we went down a path of start joking about like sequel names.
Oh my God.
Can I read you some of them really quick before we get in? Speaking of funny. So we were like, Funny Games, Game Over.
Oh my God.
Funny Games, Player 1.
Funny Games 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah. Funny Games, No Rules. Funny Games, No One's Laughing.
Funny Games, the funniest game.
Funny Games, Jokes Over. Funny Games, Game On. And then the prequel would be Funny Game. To be fair, we thought it was funnier in the moment. Reading them off thought it was funny. The prequel, funny game.
I'm obsessed.
Wait, stupid.
That's
I'm glad I got you to laugh because I was like, this is either going to be funny or it's not.
Oh my god!
Funny games for Al's Revenge.
That's actually hilarious because the actor who plays Paul and
oh no. Oh, no.
So the actor who plays Paul and the actor who plays Georg, the dad, were also starred together in Michael Haneke's film a couple years earlier, 5 years earlier, Benny's Video. And when they re-met on the set of this movie, and they'd played father and son in Benny's Video.
Oh, okay.
So when they re-met on the set of this movie, where one of them is playing the home invader to the other, the actor playing Georg joked that this was Benny's revenge.
Shut up!
Yeah, so there you go.
Funny Games, Benny's Revenge.
Benny's Revenge.
You're welcome. You're welcome. That's so funny.
There you go. Have you watched any other Michael Haneke?
Not that I'm aware.
Oh, I love Michael Haneke.
Yeah. I really enjoyed this.
He's a
something
fucked up dude.
Hello.
I mean, it's not surprising.
Yeah. Wait, did we watch the same film?
I really, really love his movie, The Piano Teacher, also. If not a horror movie, but
Sounds
like
familiar.
deeply, deeply, deeply horrifying.
Okay.
If you want something that's gonna really upset you.
Yeah. If this didn't.
Yeah. Although he actually I need to not go too far down a Michael Haneke hole too early on in this episode. I'm gonna try and keep it concise, but okay. Let me dive into the basics.
Excited.
So written and directed by Michael Haneke, stars Suzanne Lothar, and he's a director who does the whole like cast the same people in all of his movies thing.
Oh, I love that. Cute.
So she's also been in The Piano Teacher. She was in The White Ribbon. Georg is Ulrich Mühe, who is also in The Lives of Others and Benny's Video, also two Haneke films. Arno Frisch as Paul. I think I called him Arlo. Apologies, Arno. Arno Frisch, who is in Benny's Video, and Frank Geirich as
You're doing
Peter.
Great.
Thank you. My Jewish ancestors are rolling over in their graves right now. So I don't even know that you really need that much of a summary of Funny Games. It's basically home invasion, but make it film theory.
Which Siena's twist.
Yes. It gives you a little preview of the rest of this episode. There's not a whole lot of production info on this film. There's a whole lot of film theory on this film.
Oh, interesting.
So I tried to keep it concise and to things that I felt like were new and fresh.
Oh, cool.
So hopefully I will give you something that you haven't heard over and over again if you're a Funny Games fan. We'll see. But basically, well-off family arrives at their vacation home only to be visited by two young men who overstay their welcome in order to utterly fuck with the family in the most viciously sadistic ways they can think of, with basically no clear goal besides pain in mind. Love the way you're nodding at this.
Yeah.
So I wanted to start out by talking about home invasion, since that's why we did this pairing. What is your take on the genre? What's your take on home invasions?
Oh, I'll dive into it a little bit more. What's my feeling on home invasions?
Yeah, how scared of them are you?
Immensely.
Me too.
I don't know if I want a home so bad. I don't think I'm ever gonna be a home dweller I'm an apartment person. I feel like I like to hear my neighbors. I like to know that there's someone there. I have immense fear. It's one of my top fears.
Same.
Nobody used that against me.
Same. Like, I'm not scared of dying, but I'm scared of my home
scared
being
of that
broken
too.
into.
Nothingness forever. Brutal.
Great.
No.
Sorry. I'm fine, guys. I promise.
I cry about that all the time. I'm like, I won't be able to listen to music again. Home invasion terrifies me. I think these like home invasion movies kind of hit me on a level that like remind me like this happens all the time.
I mean, especially with something like The Strangers that starts with like this is based on true events.
Oh yeah, I cannot wait to get to Strangers, but I feel like it's hit or miss for me though if they're done well. I've kind of covered a couple of home invasion ones, but stuff like this where it's like just sadistic in like a way that's to your face gets me.
Yes. Yeah.
Although I like to think I'm a little tough guy, so but
bad guy starts playing in the background.
Yeah. I'm like, test me, and I'm like, don't please. I like people to be
it so clearly.
But yeah, I feel like I like the genre. I think it's a very like real fear. And again, I feel like I don't want to get like too far into it, but it's the idea of like instead of horror, it feels like terror. In a way that's a
good distinction.
Yeah. So
because I think one of the things that I definitely walked out of this pairing with was like, this is one of the scarier pairings we've done in a while, to me at least. Like both of these really, like, again, funny games makes me laugh, but it also, like, I'm genuinely scared of it.
Yeah.
Particularly the entire sequence where Georgie escapes and they're like hunting him down and he's like hiding and trying to get the gun.
Yeah.
Every time, like every single muscle in my body is clenched. Even though you know that he's not going to succeed.
Right.
You know that they're doomed.
Yeah.
Which is like the whole point of funny games is like they can't succeed. Every time I'm still like on the edge of my seat.
You know what it was it's stuff that like actually makes me sick or like disturbed is after he was shot, the mom and that shot of just holding there. And you know what it is?
About that.
Okay. Yeah. Do we want to hold?
No. Tell me.
I was going to say it's in movies like this, grief gets me. Because I've felt grief so deeply before, and I think those feelings come back up. And like I like watching the drool come from her mouth and just like the vomiting, and I'm like, I have literally been so grief stricken that I've done that. Just
been there.
Water vomit.
That puddle of grief.
Yeah.
So the water vomit. It's so real.
So real. So I think it was that it was like the saying goodbye to like don't take me with you. His stupid fucking leg. I have like, again, I have things where I'm like, I've broken my back and I've like walked.
Yeah,
you
like
know?
you can do
like,
better.
You could do it.
Yeah.
You could do it. If I could do it, you could do it.
Unimpressed.
But yeah, so I think it's those things nowadays as I'm getting older that terrify me, is like the feeling of that much grief or that much like versus the like I don't know. I feel like
I totally
does that make sense?
Totally get it. Again, like we're both fans of sad horror, right? And like,
yeah, I think that's what it
and like this is big time like sad
things.
horror. Although it's also, I don't know, fun little childhood tidbit. When I was a little kid, one time like a couple of teenagers like threw rocks through the window, through my bedroom window. And so I like woke up to like glass being shattered and like nothing bad happened. Right. Nobody actually broke in. Everything was fine.
Yeah.
But like that childhood memory is so terrifying. Yeah. Like, I don't know, maybe like 6 or 7 years old that like that has stuck with me to this day. And this like hits on that same, like your safe space being
your safe space. Yeah. It's that illusion is shattered.
Literally shattered. Yeah. Yep. So love that. Yeah. Sounds like we had pretty similar viewing experiences. Yeah. Did you have a good time with it?
I really liked funny games. Love it. If I wasn't going to a concert again tonight, I would watch the remake.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, is it time for that tonight?
No, I think it's tomorrow. I'm gonna do it. But yeah, I everything about it, I enjoy it. The acting, the shots.
It's so beautifully
You know, those really low shots where it just holds on moments. I love shots like those. Yes. Because I feel like I'm like, oh, they're just giving so much backstory in this little amount, where some people I feel like might find that like boring or like, why are we looking at this? I'm like, no, because it's really setting you up to like live with these characters.
Yeah. We're gonna talk a lot about the way this movie is
shot.
Yay.
Okay, cool.
Partially because one of the things that people love to talk about with the remake is that it's a shot-for-shot remake. He shot it exactly the same way. Different cinematographer, but the exact same way. Okay. Which tells you, a lot of reviewers commented at the time, like, this really tells you how much the visuals are part of his specific vision for this story. And there were a couple of a couple of choices you see throughout the movie that I wanted to like take some time to dive into in particular. Yeah. But let's start with some background. So apparently, I just put this in here as another kind of little tidbit, but while making the film, Haneke took one of his producers aside and told him basically, and this kind of goes to me commenting, like, I feel like my like gleeful delight watching this movie is not what he wants in a viewer.
Oh God, okay.
He said that basically while making the film, he told the producer if it was a hit with audiences, it would only be because they'd misunderstood it.
Oh.
And I'm like, is it me? It's probably
he's just testing. He's like, how fucked up are people?
Yeah, no, and that's the entire point of the movie.
Yeah.
But actually originally started, I love talking about like a writer seed story when I can find those. And
same.
This one, there was a good story behind. So he'd originally written a thriller, like probably about a decade beforehand, called Weekend, which was about a couple who'd gone to their weekend house where one young man who'd kind of accidentally committed a crime is hiding out. Thriller hijinks ensue. The wife murders the husband. Which is actually kind of in a lot of ways a very different plot from what we end up getting. Because in that case, different. To me, the dynamic of the two killers is really important. Or the two torturers, I guess we should call them. The killing isn't really the main thing they do, is it?
Yeah.
That's kind of incidental. It's almost like it's a relief when they do kill them.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we're
done.
Yeah.
Like this is
ciao, Bella.
That's not the fun part for them.
Exactly. The fun
that's
is
not
over.
Their goal.
Yeah. But so one of the things that Haneke talked about was that, to him at least, in real life, villains are. And there's a great like 25-minute video interview with him on the Criterion channel. He says that villains are in real life, quote unquote, really villainous, which to him means that they take pleasure in creating suffering. Yeah. Whereas in movies, most of the villains are remorseful. And he sees that, he's not interested in that. And he sees that as kind of like trite and pat Hollywood bullshit. Which tells you a lot about where he's coming from in making a movie like Funny Games.
I also think there's like a difference, and I think it gets muddled, of like a villain versus an anti-hero in cinema and stories in general. Totally. It's like, is that an actual villain? Because villains don't have reason. They are just bad inherently. Right. And I think anti-heroes, like that's where the like people forget like that's the term. Like I love me an anti-hero.
Oh, absolutely.
Because they have like, you can kind of look at them with humanity a little bit, whereas like that's why when you see a true villain on screen,
it's
satisfying because no one truly, it's like, nope, don't like anything about that one. Yeah. Like, don't get it.
Yep. Well, and I think part of it is that, especially, this kind of goes to what we've talked about with sort of the wave of modern horror that's very kind of moralistic, or like very much like has a moral goal. I feel like there is a way in which, I don't know, films like Funny Games, I'm trying to decide if I want to save this thought for Film Theory Rant Corner. I'm going to save this thought for Film Theory Rant Corner. We'll get into that later.
Back there. But put a pin in it.
Put a pin in it. Put a pin in this thought that I've not told you what it is yet. Put a pin in this question mark for me. But yeah, so obviously the way that this film treats the villains is kind of the thing that it's remembered for, right? It's particularly known for being one of, I think, this early wave of films breaking the fourth wall that has now become much more popular since this. One of my sarcastic watch notes to myself as I was rewatching last night was like, Funny Games walked so Fleabag could run. Like, oh my God. It's true though. Like that kind of like direct address to the audience, which I think in some ways like it kind of nods to Shakespeare. It's a little bit like when an actor does a soliloquy and like kind of steps out and addresses the audience directly. Of course, it's interesting that Peter never looks at the audience. Only Paul is able to break that fourth wall. He's the only character who does. But basically, and this is where I'm going to try and get what I find to be like the overdone film theory out of the way. it's all about like complicity with the violence on screen. It's like you as the audience are part of this, you are complicit in this, you're choosing to watch this.
Yeah.
You don't get to just be like a passive voyeur. You have to be made aware of your experience as you're watching.
Question.
Yes.
Have you seen the movie Spree with Joe Keery?
No, tell me about Spree.
He's like a vlogger, but he's also an Uber driver, and he vlogs his whole experience of killing people in his Ubers. It's
oh my God,
fantastic and fun.
Ooh.
But it kind of, you know, he talks to you, assuming you're the person watching like the YouTube videos, like you're watching the video, like you are a complicit person to it. And this man's gone as far that I don't know if people have told him, and I'm pretty sure he's running this account on TikTok that's not verified.
Oh my God.
But it's new content from that character. And it's still going years after the film, and I'm convinced Joe Keery just wants that. I forget, why am I forgetting the character's name in the thing? But Spree does that too, and I feel like it's I wonder if they took that from or like at least like a seed could have been a reason why, because you're complicit with that whole experience.
And this is like the ultimate film for that.
Yeah.
I mean, this and Rear Window. I think they're kind of they go hand in hand in a lot of ways in terms of the ways that they are obsessed with the idea of cinematic voyeurism.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Spree does the same.
Yeah, I love it.
Modern times
watch Spree. Is it from 2007?
No, it's from like 2020 or something.
Oh yeah, I guess if it's Joe Keery, it could be. He would have been like a child.
Could have been a baby.
Yeah, a baby.
He's my age.
Let's see. So anyway, I just kind of wanted to put that out there up front because I think it's obviously kind of the core idea of the film. It's what people remember it for. I feel like it gets that point across very obviously. I don't know that that's what we need to spend all that much time talking about.
How many times did you look at the camera?
A lot.
Wow. I've missed all of it except the last frame.
Oh my God, really? Did you?
Yep. I might have been doing laundry and pretending that I knew the language that was being spoken. Here's what that shows me though. I'm an idiot. Not that. I still knew what was going on. That's good filmmaking, baby.
I am speechless.
I was like, do I tell Siena this? And like, so that they know that I was like,
it was gonna come out,
popping up and down. I thought he only looked at it the last frame. I literally have my watch notes that are like, I literally wrote, I knew he was gonna look at the screen. What a fucking idiot. Good thing we didn't start with my watch notes.
Oh my God, I love that. This is all the funnier to me, Al, because I posted and I know you saw it.
Yeah, you both. I thought you just said he was hot.
I mean, I did say he was hot, but
that's all I took from that.
I posted the frame of Arno Frisch winking at the camera the first time he does it on my story last night.
Could have been behind the scenes.
Making a joke about like, I walked into this viewing experience being like, I'm not going to sexualize anybody in this pairing. This would be too far. And then Arno Frisch winks at the screen and I'm like, oh, well, here we go.
Listen, I never claimed to be bright. I had things to do on top of watching a film last night.
Okay, watch it back again.
It's so hot. I'm gonna.
It's so hot.
Do they do that in the new one?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. And it's Michael Pitt, so you're gonna love it. Yeah.
He's the winky one?
He's the winky one.
Oh. I thought he was gonna be the blonde one.
No, he's the winky one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyways.
So enjoy some Michael
If anyone's
Pitt
like me out there, let me know. Get a girl up. Make me not feel so alone right now in this world.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Moving on.
I might need to adjust some of my approach to this discussion.
Now I know. I'll just pretend. Remember we said about memories? They're just made up. I'm just going to pretend that I watched him wink. I already
Let me just real quick download my memories of the wink into your head.
A little projector and see it happening.
Yeah,
so
great.
Yeah.
Love
it.
He
looked at the Siena. He looked at the camera multiple times just in case you missed it.
There you go. Yeah, thanks, Al.
You're welcome.
Glad you kept track of that.
That's my tidbit.
Tidbit. The movie Funny Games actually breaks the fourth wall
multiple times. To my surprise.
Oh my God,
I'm just
love
a listener for this episode
so much. Okay, yeah, I mean, one of my questions was going to be, do you think that Peter is actually genuinely not aware of the audience, or is this part of him playing along?
He's genuinely not aware. Like myself. Great.
Well,
now that here's the thing. Now that I know this,
no,
I don't know. Well, I don't know anyways,
Well,
but do I think he's genuinely not aware of the audience?
or is that part of the game?
I feel like that's part of the game. I don't know. I'm taking it if like this. I don't know. I have like spree stuck in my brain where it's like you're part of it.
Give me your spree interpretation of funny games.
But he's like, we're part of it. He knows we're part of it.
That's
the fun.
That's how I found it the second watch.
It's like we're the third person in the game.
Yeah. And like,
because what's his name doesn't do a ton either. He's kind of just hanging out. Is he not? The blonde one? Did we watch different movies? I wasn't threatened by him. He looked like Taran Killam from fucking SNL. I was not threatened by him. If someone has a nickname Fatty, I'm sorry. I'm just like, I'm good. The tall one scared me. See, and I wouldn't, in the new one, wouldn't be threatened by Michael Pitt. Too hot.
That's so, because he's the tall one in the new one.
Oh. Yeah. See, you just have to be a tall villain and I'm done. Let's continue with some facts. I don't want to be talking anymore.
When we said this was going to be a silly, goofy, funny episode.
We weren't kidding.
We were not kidding.
I wasn't trying to be funny, but that's fine.
So, let's talk about the costumes a little bit. This is part of the reason why I dressed in what I dressed in today, which thank God, because again, it's fucking boiling in
wearing
here.
All white.
I'm wearing like all white because the characters in funny games are wearing all white, and part of this is that, and because I grew up in New Mexico, I did not realize that what they were wearing are tennis outfits, but they're wearing tennis outfits.
See, now who doesn't know things? I think that's implied.
Is that implied?
Yeah, those little white gloves.
Yeah, apparently it's a tennis thing.
Yeah, it's a tennis thing.
So I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So I hope that makes you feel better.
Little tennis outfits?
I don't know.
Or golf outfits.
Is it golf? I don't know.
Well,
I have tennis outfits written down here. They play with golf balls in the movie.
Yeah.
But either way, they're wearing fancy rich people clothes.
It's rich people
It's
sports.
rich people clothes. And that's the point that Haneke openly is making. And part of what we have with this film is a director who wrote a companion essay to go along with it. So when we get into the film theory rant corner, we have a lot to draw from Michael Haneke, writing about Michael Haneke.
Wow.
And one of the things he talks about is that he really wanted this to not be a film about underdogs overtaking the bourgeoisie. He said that would be like the American version of this movie.
Interesting.
Would be like a home invasion where it's poor people breaking into a wealthy family's home, which is kind of The Strangers.
I was gonna say, I have.
It's a great pairing, but to him, it's really important that they're obviously wealthy themselves. He says that he wrote the dialogue to make it clear that the invader characters are actually more educated than the family they're invading, which I'm sure comes across probably more clearly if you speak German, which I don't. But like it's very intentional that they are as wealthy, if not wealthier, than the people that they're torturing. So it is not a class commentary, it's just sadism.
Yeah. I started this film too being like again, kind of forgetting that aspect of it, because you're like, okay, these kids, come from this or more money. I love to watch a rich person get
taken down.
Yeah, taken down. I was like, I don't know how to say that correctly.
Yeah.
But damn, she has such a stellar performance.
She's incredible.
I mean, the kid can go, the dad can go, but like her was tough. And I was like, ugh, I'm like rooting for them. They're like fine.
So, oh my God, again, this is so funny because he.
What? He winks at the.
Hello. We had a ghost haunting us for a moment. Sorry, everybody. This happens at least once a podcast. We have a haunting noise.
Does he look at the camera at a specific
at
point?
one point, Paul turns to the camera and asks, "Who are you rooting for? You're rooting for them, aren't you?" So, are you rooting for them, Al?
Who, the killers? Yes. I was rooting for, honestly, I was rooting for the killers in the beginning. Too. And then her performance just kind of, I literally like said, damn it, out loud.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah.
Was there a specific moment when that flip happened?
It was after, like just before the kid runs out and stuff. It was like over the halfway point.
That makes sense.
It was like the last 40 minutes maybe of the film that I was just like, God damn.
Because she's hard to like at the beginning, I think.
Well, here's my thing. You just let people, and that's the rich thing, is they think they have this like illusion of safety with just this like richness that they carry. And I'm like, do you not realize you're actually vulnerable?
Target? Well, and particularly, I think it's so telling that part of what makes them feel safe around these people is that they're introduced to them by other rich people. It's like, oh, they're one of us. Yeah. They're in the in crowd, so they're okay. Which I feel like is also kind of a thing in Strangers too. It's like, because it's a woman who comes up to the door and she's asking for her friend, like there's more of a sense of security.
False security.
False security. Yeah. Production facts. Just wanted to shout out the score real quick. It's if you're a music nerd, the title card where it lists like Handel, Beethoven, like all of the classical composers, and then John Zorn is like iconic, because John Zorn, utterly unclassifiable noise artist. The music over the opening credits is him with his band Naked City.
Okay.
Check them out if you haven't. They fuck.
They sound like Donnie from the Wild Thornberrys.
Yes. Yeah, they do. And it's amazing. And I love it.
Yeah. I was like,
yeah.
So I loved it for that
great.
fact, because it made me want to watch
great.
Wild Thornberrys.
There you go. Yeah. So that's what you're going to be watching tonight. You're going to do the 2007 one followed by the Wild Thornberrys.
Yeah. I'll take a break halfway through.
I love that for you.
Yeah. It was interesting music.
Yeah, so wanted to shout that out also, just because that's clearly, he's doing musically the same thing that he's doing visually. I think it's like almost kind of like a breaking the fourth wall. Like, oh, you've got all of this classical music making you think you know what I'm going to do. And then,
yeah, totally. It was kind of fun and jarring.
It's like he's playing a funny game with you.
It is,
perhaps. Yeah. Cast and crew facts. Ulrich and Suzanne, who play Anna and Georg, were actually a couple in real life.
Oh, which their chemistry is really good. So
it's really good. And it also, that I think kind of, Arno Frisch, who plays Paul, talks a lot about how he thinks they probably couldn't have done this movie if they weren't a couple, because basically any time in between shots, he and the actor who played Peter would just be like goofing off and having a good time and like being silly goofy boys together. And Anna and Georg would have to just like go into their corner and like weep in silence together, and they would like leave them alone. The rest of the crew would like leave them alone. Because like Anna or Suzanne, who plays Anna, would try to cry for like at least 20 minutes before each take, so that she would get the like puffiness.
Okay,
in
I
her
was
eyes.
wondering if they did like makeup on her, because her
No,
eyes
it's
just
real.
looked progressively more swollen. I was like,
Yeah.
how do they like that again?
Yeah.
I'm like, that's
repeated crying.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, her poor little eyes must be so raw.
It like looks painful.
It
just
looks
looking at it.
painful. Yeah.
Which
sells though.
Fucking
was
sells
she
it.
okay after this?
No, actually. 3 of the 4 lead adult actors.
I like how you went 3 of the 4. Put up 4 fingers.
Guys, time, numbers, none of it's real.
3 of the 4 times.
3 of the 4 lead adult actors are dead now. And
because of this movie.
I mean, Michael Haneke, like in the interview, ends it talking about so like sad. It's not such a funny game anymore.
Life's like, one big funny game.
Yeah.
He's not wrong.
So sad moment, real quick.
Yeah, R.I.P.
Yeah,
man.
The actor who played Ulrich died of cancer. Was supposed to be in another Michael Haneke movie, had to turn down the part. His partner Suzanne committed suicide, and then the actor who played Peter died for no reason, like before age 40. So the only one who still survived is Paul, which is pretty scary.
I like that.
Yeah, and like both Michael Haneke and Paul are clearly both like a little bit freaked out by it.
See, they do need to do like a funny games game over. And he's the last one. Last man standing.
But again, funny games too, Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah. God dang, so that's morbid.
That's dark and horrible. So when you ask, was she okay after this movie?
Not
no.
entirely.
The answer is no.
Yeah, that seems like a tough role.
Yeah. Interestingly, though, she was not originally supposed to be cast in this movie. It was originally going to be Isabelle Huppert, who I love. She's in Michael Haneke's other film, The Piano Teacher, which I love. But Isabelle Huppert found it too disturbing, which if you've seen The Piano Teacher is hilarious. Because that's...
But is it just, was it like a different kind of mental thing? No?
I don't even know because they're both horribly disturbing Michael Haneke films.
Isn't it funny when actors are like, that was too much? You're like, that was too much?
And it's interesting because she's talked back on it now being like, I regret not taking it,
They
but
always say,
also, I don't know if I could take it today. Like, I'm still so freaked out by it.
Well, you got to think when you're like younger and an actor, I'm sure you're like willing to, I feel like that's the interviews you always see is like, oh, when I was younger, I was just like more willing to go there. Exactly. Because I could get myself back. And it's like when you get older, it's like, oh, I can get stuck there.
Yep, exactly. Oh, there we go. And I'm never coming out now.
Yeah.
So, the scene where, I mean, I know we just talked about how she would like cry for 20 minutes before each take. Probably the worst scene to shoot, it sounds like, was the one where Paul makes her pray. They did 28 takes of that, and she would cry before each one.
That was a good moment, though.
I
was trying to think of what I would do in that moment.
I know.
I wasn't expecting her to say that she didn't know to prayer. I was like, oh, cool. Like a movie that, like, that would be me.
I'd be same. Like, I have no fucking idea. I could maybe do like half of one in Spanish, but that's it. Like, and I don't think that's gonna help you very much.
Dear God, thank you so much.
Yeah, no, I'm gone. Yeah, there comes that eternal nothingness.
Yeah, that was a great scene, though. A great moment in the film. That hurt.
It really, really hurt. And it's, I don't know, just picturing the two of them, particularly for the scene that you mentioned where immediately after the sun is shot, we get, it's actually a 10-minute single take. Which like
I almost pulled out it does, but in the best way. I literally like I like froze.
You like can't do anything else. And it almost looks like it's a still image because obviously for the first couple minutes the only thing moving is the TV, which is like so gorgeous. For shooting that, they tried shooting it once. The actors clearly like ran out of steam. Haneke,
I can imagine.
Haneke sent them downstairs, just like, you guys do your own thing. Had the entire crew just like sit upstairs and wait for them to come. It was like whenever they're ready, they'll come do it. They spent like a half an hour downstairs together in silence. Nobody knows what they did. They came up, they shot this 10-minute scene, and everybody was like, okay, we're done with that now. We can't do it again. So I think they did like 3 total takes of that, and that was it.
Yeah, that seems like an emotional. Her just turning off the TV too, because that's the thing, those like that droning noise, and even I was like, oh my God, if I was like grieving, and then the fact that she like just steps over the kid to like turn off the TV so she can like have, because I'm sure her head's pounding.
Oh my God,
and, again, she's vomiting, and it's like, I mean, to be fair, that was a scene that like made me like,
it's nauseating.
Nauseating. Yeah. So good on them.
Good on them.
But,
like, great performance.
Yeah.
Horrifying, potentially traumatizing to the actors. But like, sounds like it was consensual. Like it this wasn't a Kubrick situation where
that's what I was wondering. Because I'm gonna be honest,
it seems like
stuff,
it could be.
That's why I asked if she's okay. Is everyone okay?
Yeah, and like no, but not because of Michael Haneke.
Yeah, they could have put themselves.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Sorry, I just hit the mic. So excited talking about Michael Haneke. So originally this film was actually meant to be shot and set in America, which I did not know that when I picked the original. I almost feel like had I known that, I would have said we should do the American remake, because in some ways that may actually be closer to what Haneke's original intent was. But
that's interesting.
It's fascinating.
Why he wants...
That's kind of why he shot it. Why he redid it in America. If that's what you're going to ask, was because he wanted this to be a comment specifically on American media violence, or American depictions of violence in the media.
Interesting.
Shot it in Austria for financial reasons, but to me at least, it kind of adds an interesting layer of like post World War II like Nazi imagery to everything that's going on. The fact that it is set in Europe, and I don't know, I think particularly like we as Americans have kind of like a mentality to Europe still, where like because we are a former colony of Europe, I think there's still a way in which like there's a part of our brain that like views Europe or treats Europe as if it's like more civilized or restrained.
No, it feels,
than
when I
us.
travel, I'm like, oh, I feel so much safer here. But I think it's like
Exactly.
safer in comparison, not safer because
Right.
is. Well, it is, though.
Well, yeah, for
But
women especially.
Yeah. So harassed a lot less.
Yeah. But I think that
Interesting.
because of that, it then makes it so that when that like quote unquote civilized veneer is shattered in this movie, it's all the more brutal.
That's kind of why I do like it, though. It's kind
Yeah.
of nice to have both, because like, how many movies do we have talking about like how America sucks? Like so many we know,
exactly. Yeah.
you know.
Well,
so as I see the other places can suck
it can suck
too.
just as bad. Well, and like it's interesting. Arno Frisch talks about how he feels like this movie was really picking up on kind of what stuff like Pulp Fiction and Natural Born Killers are putting down, and it's like, yeah, it totally is. I'm glad this movie didn't try to be that. I'm glad this didn't try to be Natural Born Killers. Like I find, and I love Natural Born Killers. I think this is a much more effective movie.
Yeah. I feel like those have completely different goals. Different goals.
Different goals.
Like
Totally different goals. Although interesting that they're both story by Tarantino. Both Natural Born Killers and Pulp Fiction. I feel like we never think about NBK as a Tarantino movie, but it kind of is. Budget listed at about $5 million. I don't know whether that's US or in euros, but either way, what were you gonna say?
It seems high for some reason, but I guess
it's, I think probably largely because of the sailing scenes. I would bet you that's probably I mean, like,
yeah, you know, 1 million was just the camera.
1 million was just the camera. They
man.
basically, they did all of the exteriors first, shot outside for a week, and then moved inside and shot all the rest of it on the set.
Beautiful location. My God.
Yeah.
That house was insane.
I saw that lake come on screen and I was like, I want to go to there.
I know. I kind of, like, hopefully no one comes knocks on my door.
Yeah. It's worth it.
As for eggs. Well, but yeah, okay, $5 million, 1997.
1997, $5 million. It's, you know, kind of right down the middle. Feels like kind of a Goldilocks budget for this type of movie, I think. I wrote down, to me, I think a huge part of what's so scary and effective about home invasion movies, and this is something I was thinking about because shooting that way, starting outside and then moving inside, mirrors the way the film works, right? Like it becomes progressively more and more claustrophobic as it goes on. Strangers kind of does the same thing. And I think part of it is like in the scariest home invasion movies, it's not just that your safe place is being invaded and made unsafe, it's that your safe place actually becomes a weapon against you, becomes a trap. And that idea, I think, is something both of these films do extremely well. And I think is part of why it's important that in both cases, these are vacation homes. This is not where these people live most of the time. So there is a level of unfamiliarity with the space that feels important in both of them. Suzanne, when she gets pushed off the boat at the end, actress was actually tied up.
Well, yeah, I mean, she looked at it. Was there someone like right there to catch her?
So
or they're like, you can just sink for 5 seconds and we'll come get you.
We'll see whether you drown or not, and if you do, then you're not.
I don't know if I would have been able to do that. I would have had to have like like the bottom of the rope had to be magnetic, and then I could just go like this.
Yeah, like I feel like nowadays there would be
like
a safer way to do that. But yeah, no, they had her tied with real. It was supposed to be a kind of knot she could undo herself, but like
here's the thing: when you're pushed off a boat, whether you know you're gonna do that or not, and you're underwater,
are you really able to untie knots?
Like, yeah, it's still like, I don't know. I'm good.
Yeah, so they had to like.
Sounds like my worst nightmare.
I know. So
also, just drowning, like, hurts.
Bad way to go. Bad way.
Your nerves like burn off after like 10 seconds or something. They say. So the internet says.
But I mean, drowning, you'd lose consciousness so quickly.
Yeah, but you gotta gulp it. Imagine not being able to take another breath. Couldn't do it. Rather burn.
Weigh in, guys. Would you rather be drowned or burned alive?
Yeah, which brutal method.
That'll be our next listener poll.
I can't believe they did that.
Right?
For like liability reasons.
I know. I was like, the insurance alone. My God. No wonder you didn't shoot this in the US, dude.
Yeah. I don't think that would have been allowed.
We could never.
Even in 97.
Even in 97.
Excuse me.
It's so cute.
It's so warm. It's so cozy warm. Talking about death.
I feel like we need to like tuck you in, get you like a little cup of sleepy time tea.
A cold blanket.
There you go. A nice cold blanket straight from the freezer. Interesting Haneke quote about that 10-minute long take we were talking about.
Yeah.
He says part of the reason why he shot it in a wide frame, which a lot of this movie takes place in wide frames. It kind of, the majority of it lives between, at the beginning, these very intentional tight close-ups of objects. Which like, love those. I think part of what he's doing there is it gives you a false sense of hope that these things will come to be useful later on, because
that's what I liked about those. I was like, is he teeing up for like, remember this?
Yeah, and he is, but it doesn't help.
Yeah.
It's, none of it ends up helping.
So good.
So it's partially that. It's also partially controlling where you look, what you can see, what information you get. So there's like some like director daddy dom energy going on, you know. And then as it goes on, the framing gets kind of wider and wider, so that by the time you get to a shot like this, you don't see the actress's face at all during that reaction. And Haneke says that that was really intentional. He didn't want to film in close-up because to do so would be quote-unquote pornographic. And he said the more real it is, the more pornographic. And I think that's such a telling quote, because like clearly, even in a movie like Funny Games and even with a director like Haneke, there is a line he does not want to cross. And like, I agree with him. It would have felt like pornographic in a gross way to see like a close-up of her sobbing over her son's body like that. The fact that it plays out in the wide is actually so much more brutal.
Because you just have to sit with it.
You just have to sit with it.
And you're forced to just be in that room with her. It's like, it's uncomfortable.
And it
a way
makes you think about the environment and about the dead body in the corner in a way that it would be a lot easier to avoid if it was a close-up on her face.
And that's the thing too, is like, you know, you can see where she's sitting and see where everyone is, and it's just like, no, it was brilliant choice, to be fair.
Big fan. It's interesting. Normally you see directors normally when you say that different actors in a film feel like they're in different films, that's an insult to a movie, right? It's like you want everybody to feel like they're participating in the same story. Haneke says that to him, part of the reason this movie works is that the two teams are in different movies. That to him, the family is in a family drama, and the invaders, Peter and Paul, are in a farce, which I thought was fascinating.
It does, but there is that kind of like duality of those characters and their tones are different.
It's totally different.
That I think when that's the goal, that is a good thing to
So released at the 97 Cannes Film Festival, where like about a third of the audience walked out during the screening. Michael Haneke,
I couldn't imagine like not knowing what I was walking into, and then like that
Haneke
1997
was so happy. He was
I'm sure
over the moon. This was exactly what
you gotta
he
think
wanted.
that's his goal.
That's his goal. That's his thing. And it's funny, Arno Frisch, again Paul, retelling this story, recalls people wouldn't just walk out. They wanted people to know that they'd walked out. So he said every time there was a new walkout, they would bang their chair.
Don't
so
you
that
love
somebody
people?
Isn't
We're
that
so silly?
So funny. So like bang, another walkout.
What would be your walkout? Be like, oops, excuse me, I'm just gonna switch back down. Oops. I'm just gonna go to the bathroom.
Just
definitely not vomiting.
Water vomit all over the screen. Yeah.
That would actually, that's fine.
Yeah.
I water vomit on everybody as I get up.
Maybe pea soup exorcist vomit.
That could be yours.
Yeah. That's.
I want to keep it clean girl summer.
Oh,
you know?
No, I'm not going clean. We're going for color. We're going for vibrancy.
Doing everyone's head.
Disgusting. My God, what an image. This obviously very divisive film. There were a lot of directors that hated it. The director Jacques Rivette called it a complete piece of shit, which I thought was hilarious. So funny because it's like shot beautifully too. I don't know. No, it's a gorgeous movie. Yeah, it's like a film. It feels like a film in horror. But we're gonna talk about why I think it had that reaction. Which to me, and I think Haneke's right about this, he says that to him, looking back on it, he thinks that people weren't upset by the violence; they were upset by the underlying attitude behind it, which I think is absolutely true. He loved that. He's much more conflicted. He's actually now become more conflicted about it over time as more people have come to love funny games and respect it as a movie.
He's like, I want you to hate it.
Yeah, he's like, I don't like that this is becoming a cult film. He's like, that was not the goal.
Wow.
And I'm like,
I kind of appreciate that.
Yeah.
He's like, I didn't want this to even do well.
No, he didn't.
I just wanted to horrify all of you.
Exactly.
Oh,
which
king. That's kind of cool.
Which brings us to my film theory rant corner.
Yay!
We really need to get a sound effect.
We gotta call Theo.
Can only imagine what he'd come up with. So the essay that Haneke wrote to accompany this film, I think it came out around the release of the remake, so probably around 2007, 2008. It's called Violence in Media. Talks openly about the fact that he did not want to make a horror film in making this movie. That was not the goal. The goal was to make a statement about the role of violence in modern media. And to me, I was thinking about that and I was like, it really feels like the horror elements in this film are serving something else rather than the horror being the point, right? And so I think that makes this a great example of an experimental narrative feature. I think this is maybe one of the most widely accessible examples of that doesn't get talked about as that. Because there are a lot of ways that it follows and plays with conventional narrative beats, that it feels like a thriller, that it feels like a horror movie, because it is scaring you. It is a home invasion story. But the role is not to elicit fear reactions. That's not the intent, the ultimate intention of the movie. Whereas, like, I feel like when you watch The Strangers, it feels like the ultimate intent, the thing the director wants more than anything else, is to scare you. And I was sitting there thinking about this, and I was like, what is the thing that Michael Haneke wants more than anything else in this movie? And I read his essay, and I was like, what is the thing Michael Haneke wants more than anything else in this movie? And I think it's to ask questions. Like, I think that I think it's a provocation. It's not an answer. I think, like, he wants to poke you. He wants to, it's an experiment. That's why I'm using the word experimental. And that's part of why I think the reason I wanted to do a little film theory rant corner on this is because I think we talk about experimental film as this, like, big scary thing that's like, really,
it has to,
it's like really theory heavy and inaccessible, and there's no narrative to it, and only giant film nerds like Siena like to watch it, and like, which, like, maybe that's true, but like, that there's this idea that it's like this exclusively cold academic thing that is divorced from the world of storytelling. And to me, it's like they can actually end up looking very similar. It's just that there's a different underlying intent, and the underlying intent is like, what happens if, rather than you be scared now. Right. And so, like, I think that part of the reason that even to this day, this is a very divisive film, like, even on Saturday, we had a friend of mine come up to us who listens to the podcast, who was like, I can't believe you guys are doing funny games. It's such a depraved movie. And he was saying it as a compliment, I think.
We'll take it as that.
We'll take it as that. But, like, I think even a lot of, like, really big film lovers who really respect this movie do not like this movie because a lot of people find it so cynical and so, like, I think there can be a sense that Haneke as a filmmaker is just like violence for violence's sake, or
maybe because maybe it was for us, that's why.
Well,
but
I do not fundamentally think that's true. I think it's just that
it didn't feel, in no way did it feel that way.
No.
And again, it comes to, like, the framing. I mean, he even himself says
exactly.
Like, so I just don't.
I think it's
believe that to be true.
I think it's that so much of the time, and particularly in America, which goes back to his whole thing in wanting to make it in America, when we talk about violence in the movie, and this is something he talks about in his essay. Let me pull up my quote from that essay on it. He says that it's not a genre film. It reflects on the genre. It's a manipulation via the medium itself. And then later in the essay, he says he's debating whether violence in the media. He says debating whether violence in the media is necessary is a moot point in light of its existence. The question of the form of representation makes the most sense. So again, he's framing all of this in terms of questions, not answers.
Right.
And I think part of it is that we're so used as Americans to films about violence in the media, like Last House on the Left, which I think is a really interesting one to compare this to.
Yeah. I was wondering if you were going to compare those two.
I think they're playing with some very similar things.
Yeah.
I think that's the perfect example of a film that is also dealing with all these same issues, but is not an experimental film because its goal is to make a statement on it. Its goal is to say, like, this kind of violence is bad. It has a moral stance on it. I think part of what gets under people's skin about Haneke is that he's never really even condemning these characters, and he's not even condemning American violence in media. Right. He's just saying, like,
it just is.
What about it?
Yeah.
What about the form of it?
Again,
let's play with it.
We've said this before too. It's like they serve it up on a platter, and so it turns it to the audience. That's why, breaking of the fourth wall.
Exactly.
You guys didn't know that he did that.
And,
but I think that's why and then people are uncomfortable when it's like, I think it's so funny. It's like humans, we want like choice.
Yes.
But I think we want the illusion of choice. We kind of want to be given like, it's this or that.
Exactly.
To make it easier. And I think when confronted with, no, you decide.
Yeah.
Here it is. It's just out there for you.
It's just,
we get like weird, or people get weird.
Yeah.
I don't get weird.
We never
I
get
love
weird.
to give my opinion. That's why we have a podcast.
If there's one thing that listeners know about us, it's that we never get weird.
Yeah, never. Not once.
Never get weird. Love an opinion.
Yeah. Hate opinions.
Hate opinions.
But yeah, I feel like that's probably like the little human brain of it all.
Exactly. Which all of this is basically just to say, A, don't be scared of experimental film. B, this is an experimental film.
I've never thought
experimental film can be fun, people. Experimental film can be fun.
Yeah.
End of Film Theory Rant Corner.
Yeah. I liked that.
I know we have almost no time left. I just want to share one dumb little viewing note.
Okay. Yeah.
The last thing that I wrote down as the ending credits were rolling was, when do these men ever sleep? They are insatiable.
Well, they kind of left for a little bit. Do you not think they took a little nappy nap?
Is that what they were doing?
I think so.
That's so funny.
He's like, well, we're back. It's like playtime again. And I think that's when they nap. They just nap. And that's what I think sadistic too, is like they kind of just like go and do what they want when they want.
Because like I was trying to figure out the timeline, and I was like, okay, we see them at the beginning. Clearly
I thought they took a cat nap. Grabbed a beer.
Makes sense. There you
loaf
go.
Of bread.
Because
like
clearly, like the dad, that like giant chunk.
I know. I'm like, that killed
satisfying.
me.
That was satisfying.
I'm like, your wife's vomiting. You're like, bread sounds great.
Yeah. You know what? This makes me feel hungry.
Yeah. I guess there's like flip sides of like, he was probably comforting himself.
Yeah.
But you know, I don't think I could eat in a situation.
No. While your wife's throwing up in the other room over your son's dead body.
Yeah. Yeah, your son is just
he just got shot.
And you're like, loaf of bread.
You know what sounds great
in
right
between
now?
drying the phone.
Some white bread. Yeah.
Like, dude, do something. Do something.
But no, we see them at the beginning at the neighbor's house. Clearly they kill those neighbors because we go back to that house. Then they come over to this house, borrow the eggs, start their torture there. Go out.
Do they just go to a different neighborhood? Because they're just killing off all these people.
That's what I'm saying.
Are they just waiting for people the next summer they rent these houses? Because they have such, like, people are just on a list to live there.
Literally. Like,
white rich people would. This really is a white rich people would story.
Such a white rich people would story. Which I think a lot of, The Strangers kind of is too, in some ways. I think a lot of home invasion movies are. There's like again, it needs to be vacation home. It's like an important part of it. But yeah.
Good thing I'm never going to be rich enough for that.
There you go. We're never going to have to worry about that.
No. Never.
If we have a home invasion happen, chances are we're getting shot immediately. So
yeah. I'll be like, just take me out. It's fine.
Yeah, just take me out.
Just pan it over.
Yeah.
I'll do it myself.
Anybody going after our living places does not have the energy to play
I'm also
games.
like Dwight Schrute. I got daggers. I'm like not even kidding, in every place of my house. I have like 10 knives scattered around my apartment.
I'm like Dwight Schrute. I've got beats.
I do. Well, I love beats, but I got knives
got a dagger,
too.
got a beat.
With
that, should we
hop into
hand
mine?
it over to the strangers?
Yeah,
Open the door to them?
Yeah. Oh God.
With that,
we'll be right back.
back. Thank you to our sponsor, Best Days. Best Days is dedicated to crafting products and experiences that bring out the best in each and every person who chooses to be a part of New Mexico's vast and diverse community. They want your cannabis experience to feel good, like that feeling of sitting on the couch and relaxing after a long day of working, taking in a deep breath and remembering why you do all you do, or hanging out with your dead best friends like Anton and Idle Hands, laughing and chilling. Giving each other a hand, as they might say. Best Day's mission is to curate products to help you have a moment or two during your day without regrets of the past or worries of the future. They want to help you feel that you are the best version of yourself, whether you're working, playing, sleeping, healing, or just plain relaxing, or if you're me and you're watching Idle Hands. Just visit any of their 9 locations in northern New Mexico, which is one of my personal favorite things about them. They have a location in Espanola out by me, out in the boonies, at 9 locations in northern New Mexico, and let them help you be your best today. Use code SPLICE10 at checkout to save 10% off at bestdaze.com. That's bestdaze, DAZE.com. And we're back.
Look at that, we're back. How'd we get here?
Look at that. I love that you've started doing that. My dumb little thing that I started last episode.
I like it. So here we are. We're on mine.
Yeah, the strangers are knocking on the door. We're opening it.
Yeah.
I love their masks.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't even know where to start. So Strangers, 2008.
I knew absolutely nothing going. This was the least I've known about a movie going in.
Really?
I knew that it was a home invasion. I didn't know who was in it. I didn't know when it was from. I didn't know what the premise was. I knew nothing.
It's funny because I think because everyone else around us that we've talked about it, everyone's like, oh yeah, the strangers, the strangers.
Yeah.
And so I think I just put you in that pile of people.
Makes sense.
Put you in that bucket of people.
Yeah. Put me in the pile.
Yeah. So I don't even, I want to start with watch those. Do I want to wait?
I was so scared, dude.
Really?
I had a great time. Well, because again, it's been our last 2 pairings were kind of horror comedies.
Yeah.
And so it was a delight to watch something that was actually scary. And again, second perhaps only to Waxworks. This is a kind of horror that really gets at me. And again, because I knew so little going in, it made it extra effective. So I had a wonderful spooky delight of a time. Yeah. It was I really enjoyed this.
Yay.
Really enjoyed
That's
this
awesome.
one. Yeah.
Good
And again,
pairing.
Liv Tyler,
I love her. She's
our
so
queen.
great.
Our literal, she will always be our elf queen.
Yeah. I'll get into my opinions a little bit.
So did you pick a film that you're not a fan of?
I think I did.
Fascinating. Did I like this film more than you did?
Yes.
That's so funny. Oh, I can't wait. Let's dive in.
Yeah. So I'm gonna get some stats and then I'll get to the stopping point.
Yes.
So The Strangers, 2008, May 30th, 2008. So we're coming up on an anniversary. We're not gonna do the math.
Again, it's not real.
So
math's not real. You learned it here first, folks.
Yeah. So rated R. The director Brian Bertino said that he was not interested in having a PG-13 horror, and he wanted bad things to happen to people.
Yes.
Kind of similarly.
Wanted to play some funny games with them.
Yeah. So he said he wanted kind of that level of realism to be there, so less gore, but more of the cursing, drinking, smoking, and goes on to say that although it's nothing like Saw or Hostel that kind of came around at the time, it's still very intense, and that's why the R rating was kind of handed down without asking them to cut anything out. So I like that he was nope, I don't mind that this is my rating. That's kind of what I'm going for. So,
which I think it's interesting. The one that we've watched that it reminded me most of was Disturbia. It felt like there was kind of some similarities there, and obviously that one's a PG-13.
Yeah.
So it definitely felt like I was glad they went for the hard R.
Yeah, the hard R.
Yeah.
So distributed by Universal Pictures and Rogue Pictures. Rogue Pictures, I just thought it was kind of fun looking at. They did Seed of Chucky, Last House on the Left remake, Strangers Pray at Night, and then also did Catfish, the documentary that inspired the TV show, which is one of my favorite things to watch in a hotel.
In a hotel specifically. I love that.
Yeah, it's always it's always on.
Well, fair.
MTV is either only playing what's his name, Rob Dyrdek.
Oh my God, that's
Catfish.
so true.
That's what MTV is now.
Liminal spaces, man.
Yeah.
MTV has become a liminal space.
It's tough. Yeah. So description, Kristen, who's Liv Tyler, and James Scott Speedman are expecting a relaxing weekend at a family vacation home. I didn't realize how similar these ones were.
Oh, yes.
But their kind of stay turns into anything but peaceful. First, a mysterious and dangerous woman arrives at the door. I like how they describe her as a dangerous woman. I was like, she didn't seem dangerous at first.
Yeah, she doesn't do anything at first.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, she is calling Tamara, which is my mom's name, so I'm immediately like, oh no!
My mom!
Mom!
The woman arrives at the door while James is out on an errand. When he returns, accidentally kills his friend Mike.
Glenn Howerton.
Yeah. I think I get to it. He's from Always Sunny, right?
Oh, of course he is. Yeah. I was like, he's Dennis of the Dennis system. The implications are there.
So obviously they're just in a fight for their survival.
Yeah.
That's the premise.
Yeah.
These are very similar in that, except for I guess there's play to this, just not up front. It's behind the scenes.
Particularly by the point where we see all of them with their masks fully revealed, all in a line, and one of them is sitting on a swing set or something.
Yeah,
I don't know if I invented that, but there's a play.
Yeah,
there's a childlike.
It's a performance.
Yeah.
I think both of these, with the kills, are performative, and they want it for the reaction
for sure. And all of the writing on the windows and the mirrors, there's a lot of performative elements going on.
Yeah. So taglines, which I always love to go over.
Yes.
Lock the door, pretend you're safe.
Ooh,
which is ugh.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Good
we tell ourselves there's nothing to fear, and sometimes we're wrong.
Ooh.
Inspired by real events.
That's
I know, not great. And then the because you were home. That's the one.
Good.
That's the one that I think got everyone talking about it, because that's what I remember most about this coming out. Is I can't remember if that was in the trailer or if that was people just watched it instead. Because I was late to watching this. I watched it a few years. I think I watched it when I moved, after I graduated college. So I think it was 4 years or so after it came out. And then it also had another working title, and I was wondering if you wanted to take a stab at what
the stabbers,
at what the other name it was called. It's pretty it's not a long title.
That's not a great hint, as you would say.
It's the something.
Every word in the English language just fell out of my head.
It's the faces.
No!
Isn't
That's
stupid?
a terrible title.
The faces.
The faces?
That
There's
doesn't
nothing
make you
scary about
nothing
that.
Scary about that.
Eyes without a face.
Yeah.
Now there's a scary title.
Face without eyes.
Face without eyes. Somebody make that.
Yeah, isn't that funny?
Eyes without a face too. Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah. They oh no,
You've
I
done
just
me.
bashed the mic, guys. I'm sorry. But yeah, so that was I'm glad they changed it.
Yeah, that's
wouldn't have hit
terrible.
the same.
Yeah. The faces?
Yeah. So I know I talked about it for your film, although it's classified as a horror mystery home invasion film. They kind of on set, I found some behind the scenes interview stuff, and they kind of described it as a terror film versus the classic horror.
Love that.
So what's the difference? Glad you asked. Looked it up. So terror is usually described as the feeling of dread and anticipation that precedes the horrifying experience, versus horror, in contrast, is the feeling of revulsion that usually follows a frightening sight, sound, or otherwise experience. So I do feel like there's this genre of terror films that I think Fun and Games falls into too, because it is this feeling of dread and anticipation to these events,
which I think also, I think to me Psycho also falls into that category for next pairing.
There's a lot of so I think it's kind of interesting. I think moving forward as we watch films, I'm going to kind of add terror,
horror or terror
to
I love that. Interesting. It's like another dimension of the horror chart.
Yeah. Like it's a little like side road.
Yeah.
So director and writer Brian Bertino.
Mm-hmm. What else has he done? I've not read.
This was like his first. This was his first thing.
Wow.
I have a quote from Roger Ebert at the end, kind of talking about his.
Love a good Ebert quote.
He also did the 2018 Strangers Pray at Night, and then the 2021 Strangers Pray at Night Recreation. He hasn't done a lot.
Oh, is the Strangers like the main?
It's the big one. It's the big one. So Brian wasn't actually supposed to be the original director of this. Mark Romanek, who did 1 Hour Photo and like a ton of music documentaries, like a ton of them, was originally supposed to direct, but I guess he like dropped the project. I'm sure he probably got an offer from like some big musician, was like, I'll take this instead. Yeah. And so Brian's like, well, I'll take it. Like it's
Brian's turn. So.
Yeah. We have music by Tom and Andy. It's all one word if you look them up. I thought it was Tom. I had it like spelled wrong in my thing. I thought it was Tom and Dandy, which is so disappointing. It's Tom and Andy.
Much cuter.
Yeah, it's like all lowercase. They did music for Sinister 2, Hills Have Eyes, Right at Your Door. So they kind of have like a nice little portfolio. Yeah. I put the supervising sound designer for this. Scott Hecker did Mad Max Fury Road, Watchmen.
Amazing.
And Sucker Punch, which I just watched a few weeks ago.
I've been meaning to watch Sucker Punch.
It's so, you're going to have a whole personality crisis after watching it. I did.
Good personality crisis?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's awesome. Apparently, like, Zack Snyder talked about how he wants to, like, redo it. He wasn't like happy with it.
Which, like,
I love it.
Stop
Don't
redoing your own shit.
Yes, just like, stop.
Just sit still. Yeah. Somebody give that man some edibles for crying out loud.
Someone strap him to a chair, please.
Somebody get him to Best Days.
He needs. Yeah, honestly, he absolutely needs some indica and just a chill moment by himself to think of his own thoughts.
To think about what he's done.
Absolutely, stand by that.
Yeah.
So we have makeup by Vincent or Vinny. I don't know how to say his name. Is Schicchi.
Oh God, I have no idea.
I'm thinking
we're gonna go with that.
He's cool. We're gonna call him Vinny. Did Requiem for a Dream, Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, the 2016 Ghostbusters. So he's got some stuff. Cinematographer was Peter Sova. He did Wicker Park and Lucky Number 11. Two films I feel like I've not heard of. In
a long. I forgot those existed.
Me too. Yeah. Lucky Number 11. I was like,
yeah. Oh, look at that. Yeah. All alone in the moonlight.
Yeah. Very alone. So it's starring Scott Speedman as James. He was Michael in a couple of the Underworld movies with Kate Beckinsale.
This doesn't make any sense, but my brain thought you were going to say he was Michael in a couple episodes of The Office, and I was like, what?
The unseen episodes. The vault episode.
The dark underside of the Office.
Yeah. The reversed world. Oh my God. Because you don't hear the name Michael often. Also in like a vampire film franchise.
Not usually a Michael. Yeah.
Oh, Michael in Lost Boys though. Michael.
That's true. There's a Michael vampire.
Yeah. I take it back.
Yeah.
So he's also Nick Marsh in Grey's Anatomy, like the later seasons. Cool. I was trying to figure out why he looked familiar.
That would do it, yeah.
Liv Tyler is Kristen. Arwen is in Lord of the Rings. Corey in Empire Records. In That Thing You Do, which is one of my favorite music. Have you seen it?
Oh no, I was just thinking about Liv Tyler. That was just my Liv Tyler face.
Yeah. I wrote just an it girl.
She's so incredible. I feel like she was probably one of my earliest female celebrity crushes.
Oh yeah.
Like one of the ones that I remember having youngest. Maybe like 4 or 5.
Yeah, she always kind of has felt like she was like around. I think. A little tidbit about Liv Tyler. I just thought it was fun. Liv Tyler's dad, Steven Tyler from Aerosmith. We all know. That's not the fact. Before he was in Aerosmith, as a teenager, he was in another band which was called The Strangers. Isn't that fun? I love that.
My God.
Full circle. I wonder if
time's not real, guys.
I feel like he was like so dad about it when she got this role. Like, did you know back in like when I was a teen?
The Strangers, you say.
I hung out at a bar that he was also hanging out at. And he rolled up, and I thought he was just like the most fashionable little lesbian I've ever seen in my life. And then everyone was like, "That's Steven Tyler." I was like, "That makes sense."
You're like, "God damn it!"
Yeah, he was just so chill.
I thought he was hot.
I mean, I like him.
I feel like him as a fashionable lesbian would be hot.
Yeah. He seems like a cool guy. I don't know. He was cool that night. He just hung to himself.
I'm gonna stop sexualizing imaginary gender swapped version of.
I don't think I'll ever
Steven
stop doing
Tyler.
that. I don't think I'll ever stop. That's something I do in my free time.
It's a favorite Al pastime.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So Glenn Howerton, which you brought up as Mike.
Oh.
Dennis. I wrote Dennis because I didn't want to be shame you.
If I didn't know,
If I didn't know, if I didn't know, I wanted to come here with.
Oh yeah,
things.
no, he's
I knew Siena.
Every single feature film set that I've been on, one of the primary games has been playing which member of Always Sunny is each cast member.
I would have no friends on set on the sets you were on.
Yep, there you go. Yep.
He's also, for those of you out there that have not seen it, he's also Must Love Dogs with John Cusack, and I love that movie. And Everything Must Go.
Oh.
I think that's a Will Ferrell. And then we have Gemma Ward as Dollface.
Oh.
Were you ever subscribed to Nylon Magazine?
For a brief period, yes.
She was it.
Yeah.
She was the model. And I remember when this came out, I remember being like, the model I'm obsessed with.
Excuse me?
Yeah. So she's an it girl, a model, Nylon Magazine, just on everything. She also had some small roles after this in The Great Gatsby and Pirates of the Caribbean movie at the time. So she did like a couple little things. Kip Weeks as Man in Mask. He was in Ragged Isle TV series, 2006 Glory Road. And then last person I have on here is Laura Margolis, who is the pinup girl. She was in Dirty Sexy Money.
Amazing.
A title that I feel like I haven't heard in a while. And The Vanished. So that's kind of just rundown of the cast. Some stats for you. So I feel this is where I'm going to get into my opinion.
Yes. I'm so excited.
Buckle up. So, and again, this is I'm just going to put this out here. It's my opinion. No one has to agree with me.
We represent nobody but ourselves.
Yeah, truly. So like, again.
You can deal.
Yeah, my opinion. So I said this film feels like such a perfect blend of films I've already covered, which is Your Next and Vacancy.
It was a lot like Your Next.
It's a lot like Vacancy.
It's a lot like Vacancy. You're right. Yeah.
So, and I'm just gonna like remind everyone that like Your Next 2011 cost $1 million, made 26 mil. Vacancy was 2007.
So scared where this is going.
Oh no, this one did great.
2007
cost 19 million, which is like still crazy to me.
Shocking. Yeah.
Made 35 million worldwide. So the budget for this was 9 million. I just think it's fun to compare these because they're so similar.
Yeah.
And at the box office, take a guess. So 9 million to make.
And you said it did pretty well.
Yeah, it did well.
30.
Keep going.
Oh my god. 50?
Up.
70?
Up.
Oh my god, did it pass 100?
No.
Okay.
No, you gotta stop there. 82.4
Damn,
million.
good
I was
God.
surprised.
That's one of our highest yet. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
It feels huge.
Wow.
So this film was actually originally scheduled for 2007, like I said, which I'm like,
Yep. That tracks.
But came out in May of 2008. So it was apparently, according to Laura, who played the pinup Mask,
Right.
it was supposed to have a premiere, but she kind of believed that the studio had another film like The Strangers that didn't go well, which I'm curious to know what that was. So they kind of like pulled it and then they let the film like rest for a little bit before releasing it because they weren't expecting it to do well, which I find weird because I'll get to it later. Universal actually wanted them to, I think I have it like way lower in the notes, but I'll maybe repeat it twice. They wanted the masks because they wanted to be able to franchise this down the road.
That makes sense. And
so I'm like,
franchise that they did.
Franchise that they did.
Yeah.
Universal likes to do that.
They love a franchise.
Yeah. They like to build it, especially nowadays. I think they're building it because they're trying to make it part of Universal like Studios.
Makes sense.
Like horror nights, Halloween horror nights.
I mean, again, horror franchises have been their thing since the 30s. That's
The Purge is like killing it, but it's because again, like they throw it. Honestly, I feel like films like this. Oh my god, I might get hate on this.
Say it.
I feel like they're like they get so big, like The Purge and Strangers, because I think the normies get it.
Yep. Yeah.
And so I think it goes like outside of like a normal horror fan, and it goes into the laps of like normal people who aren't particularly fans of horror. They like stuff, and that's why I think it got big. Is there's certain films that
hit the
kind of
non-horror crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like
I guess
I
it's
think
not
of like
controversial,
Sinister as something that did that too,
Mhm.
or like
Yeah.
oh my God, what's the Paranormal Activity? I feel like those
Mm.
also hit a
Yeah,
non-horror
yeah, yeah,
crowd.
yeah.
Yeah,
I think Conjuring a little bit
yeah,
too.
yeah, which I
Yeah.
haven't seen yet, but yeah, I feel like
Oh.
similar.
So I'm
Yeah.
like, I think that's why it did so well. Is I think it just got
Mm-hmm.
like, which is so funny because again, 9 mil to 82 mil in box
That's
office.
huge. It literally squared its budget.
Yeah,
It squared it.
yeah,
Damn.
it's big. I was like, what?
Yeah.
So many, a kind of fun fact about the release too is like many theaters across the US were sent faulty reels that contained like sound problems, which I guess had like over a couple scenes what did it say? Like nothing but static.
Oh my God, that's so much
I
creepier.
know, but people didn't realize
Yeah.
it was a problem since there was like, it's a dark, creepy,
Yeah.
weird film, and there is this like very nice like low hum kind of sonic
Yeah.
noise that
Yeah.
plays throughout. So like people were
People
just like,
went with
okay.
it. I love that.
Isn't that funny?
That's
People just accepted it.
one of my favorite stories from film school.
Mm.
Was in my Film Theory 101 class.
Oh, funny.
We watched Persona, the Ingmar Bergman film, not Ingrid Bergman. I'm gonna get so much hate for that. We watched
From yourself.
from myself, from exclusive.
No one here is
I'm gonna make a bunch of fake accounts to write in and shame myself on TikTok. Come on, Siena.
Nerd.
Honestly, that sounds
Noob.
like me.
I believe you.
And in the last 5 minutes of the film, the screen froze, and nobody realized that it was an accident. They just
funny.
assumed that because it's an Ingmar Bergman art film,
Yeah.
that there was like an intentional 5-minute freeze
funny?
frame at the
Oh
end
my
of the
God.
movie, which just
That-
loved.
That was some funny games too when it paused and like rewound.
Did you think it was an
Because I
accident?
put and then Mabel, my dog, like bops around at night too, and I always keep the remotes on my chest so she doesn't step on them. And I thought I just like palmed it, So yeah,
That's so funny.
yeah. I was like, ah, and I was like, oh no,
God.
no. And then I thought it like fucked up and was fast. Like I thought it was talking faster, and I was like, what? And I was
You're
oh,
like,
this
did I
is
switch the
intentional.
speed on this?
It was a rough
so
night for me.
You're like, did he just wink at me?
No,
Excuse
me.
me.
No way.
Sir.
I'm seeing things now. I'm never gonna get past that. That is so embarrassing. I don't think I'm ever gonna like. We're putting it on the internet too. That sucks.
Yeah. I'm gonna TikTok that clip.
That sucks so hard.
I
am. Here's the thing, kids, about the internet. Don't put stuff on it that you're embarrassed by.
We're due, and those will be the only things that go viral.
Moving on.
Yeah.
So you might ask how this film came to be.
How did this film come to be?
I got answers this time.
Love.
So writer-director Brian wrote this based off an incident from his childhood, actually.
So
I know. Well, that's why I think they say
based on a real,
But you gotta think, there's home invasions. I love an inspired by real events thing. It's so cheesy because I'm like, you literally could be like, oh, there was a cat at this house and a guy showed up.
Yeah.
And here's
therefore home invasion.
Yeah. Here's your next. It's a true story. Because it has to be like, what is it? Like one nugget of information has to be true for you to like be able to say that.
The laws seem like they're pretty loose.
They're so loose. So came from an incident from his childhood where a stranger knocked on his door, asked for someone who wasn't there, and then left, just like Dollface does. And he later discovered that it was a ruse to see like who was home and who wasn't, so that they could rob houses.
Oh, that happened in my neighborhood all the time growing up.
So scary.
All the time.
That's why I don't answer doors.
Yep.
Literally
Same.
don't answer them.
Never.
I like mouth breathe at my peephole.
Yep.
And I just hope that they don't hear me mouth breathing at my even if they do.
There you go.
Also,
hopefully
like,
they do.
I don't know. I don't want to talk about it too much. It scares me. So it's obviously that's the scene that plays out in the beginning. It's also loosely based on the Ketty murders and the Tate murders.
The Tate LaBianca murders?
Yeah. So
I wondered because
Yeah.
I wrote down. I was like, this feels a little bit Manson-y.
yeah. So for those that don't know, the Tate, I had to like refresh myself. LaBianca murders.
I'm refreshed and ready, baby.
Yeah.
I know way too much about this.
They were a series of murders perpetuated by the members of the Manson family, like August 9th through 10th, 1969 in LA. under the direction of Tex Watson and Charles Manson. And then the Ketty murders are an unsolved quadruple homicide that occurred over the night of April 11th, 12th, 1981. Ooh, we're like coming up on our anniversary.
Right this time.
In Ketty, California. So you can read more about those. This is
I
not a
gotta
true
look that
crime
up.
podcast. So I don't know why. I don't know why I wrote this after that fact. So do you ever have anything happen like this? Why did I write that after the murders? Poor placement.
Have you ever been ordered to commit crimes by Charlie Manson?
Yeah, just, I mean, the way you're dressed today, who knows?
You know? Sick
Maybe.
burn. Sick burn.
I feel like it feels very like that era of dress. In the highest of compliments.
Oh my god, no, my
I don't know. In highest compliments in the good way, not the bad way. I just need to shut up today. Who gave me a microphone?
I'm just like desperately trying to hold myself back from revealing how much of like a unfortunate special interest the Tate LaBianca murders became for me in a brief period of
you gotta
my
think
life.
that like I feel like at least the United States, if not the whole world.
Oh my god, it was
like,
a huge cultural shift. Yeah. Well,
I mean,
especially
it's such
for Hollywood.
And it's sadly such a pop culture reference.
Oh my god, yeah,
too.
absolutely.
And like once you get to that, what are you gonna do? Like a lot of people have special interest in that.
And unfortunately, I'm gonna be bringing this back next week since we're talking about Rosemary's Baby, which is Polanski, which is the husband of Sharon Tate.
Oh my god, yeah,
there's
we're
all
really
sorts
leading
of
ourselves
stuff.
down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, so we'll save that. I will save my Sharon Tate shit for next week.
Perfect.
But put a bookmark in it. Sharon Tate shit on the way.
Siena will be talking about this. So this was shot in go right into it. Timmonsville, South Carolina, and Florence, South Carolina. And this was shot chronologically.
Oh, interesting.
Which I feel like
quite
you don't
hear.
hear.
Yeah, that's not
super
common.
rare.
Yeah.
Which I think like Liv Tyler talks about how it kind of like helped her with her character.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of gonna get into ways like I watched this YouTube video. It was like the sounds of terror, the the visuals of terror, like all this kind of stuff. So I'm kind of like moving through my notes in that way. So some of those ways I feel like this film visually tells story of terror is I have some quotes from Brian, the director, saying for him it was kind of about grounding this movie as much as possible. Again, same with Funny Games, I feel like, so that the audience would believe this world, and said that he found they found the house that they ended up shooting in. And they wanted this house to kind of feel like anyone could own it. So it could have been your the house that your grandparents grew up in, that you grew up in, that you visited a friend on the street. And so the house that they found an exterior that had all of the things they were looking for. It was the house. It had the barn, the garage, the forest, the long road. They
that's
got lucky that they didn't have to build that. They did, however, build the interior.
It felt like a set. Yeah.
So they had to build the interior. They built it on a soundstage, and
same with Funny Games too. That's also set.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, it feels so cozy.
It does feel very cozy, doesn't it? And they like recreated it almost perfectly for the 2007 version too.
Wow.
So, fun fact.
Yeah. Oh
little
my god.
little bonus tidbit.
That one felt real.
It feels more like a real house somehow, which is interesting.
This one kind of felt setty.
In
points.
It did feel
the kitchen, the main floor.
Yeah. What is it about that? There's like a fake lived-inness to it.
It's something about the layout. I'm like, that layout doesn't exist.
That's not a real layout. You're right.
Yeah, I think that's really what it is.
That's so
the
true.
layouts throw me.
I think you know what it is? I think there's a thing where a lot of times Hollywood set layouts are much more complex than real house layouts. Like, usually you build a house, you try to make it as simple as possible.
Yeah.
Like it's like a line.
Yeah.
It's
just it's a room.
Just it's a room.
There's not like
there's a room, then there's another room.
So the reason they did this too, obviously to control what it looked like on the inside, but also because of how they shot it, they needed to be able to move. This whole thing was like a little Rubik's Cube. They could pull out different walls and ceiling pieces.
Very Killer Clowny.
Yeah, absolutely. So they could stick like the camera there for stuff. So they built that. And they obviously like had this, the way they lit it too, and the color palette they used, they specifically wanted it to be really comforting and cozy and warm and toasty, specifically so they could just destroy that.
Love it.
Which I think is so fun.
So
I'm like,
good.
oh, I love
So
that you're
good.
like creating this world that you get to like just crash into. They also shot this film entirely handheld and with Steadicams, which we've talked on here before. That kind of just gives this like audience, like as an audience member, you don't really have like solid ground to stand on. You kind of are like in this level of chaos with them.
Totally.
So some sounds of terror.
Love.
They recorded some sound on the soundstage, which was a 600 by 235 foot like big, you know, concrete room. If you've never been on a soundstage, it's big and echoey.
Yeah, giant.
And I wrote, and you guessed it, it caused a ton of recording issues.
Yeah, I can imagine.
They said like everything from banging on the glass to like the screams just like reverberated. So there was a lot of like going back and fixing those things. This movie, I almost passed some things. Some fun things too that they did though for reactions, which I thought was fun. Which I'm like, oh my God, I would have killed to be a PA on the set. So the PAs on the set, they had running around doing all the banging to get like their reactions to stuff. Which I'm like, I would have died if they were like,
PA job.
Yeah, Liv Tyler's on there. You're just like trying to scare the shit out of her. I was built for that.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Built for that. So they had them like running around the walls, making noises, and would sometimes like throw things in opposite directions, like where Liv Tyler wouldn't expect, just to really catch her off guard, which I thought was really fun. It seems like a fun set to be on. And I also said this movie kind of created a scream queen out of Liv Tyler in a way that, you know, I think we don't think of her as.
That's not the first box you put her into, but she's,
I think, ethereal and adorable.
Yeah, I think elf.
Scream queen. Yeah, elven. So she said she was like, when it comes to the screaming, she was so nervous she wanted to die. She was
That's perfect.
Which I think is so cute.
That's perfect.
She was, I'm like, you're Liv fucking Tyler. Yeah. God damn. And like she has the scream.
Yeah. Well, and like your dad's a rock musician.
Yeah.
Like
screams
run in the family, girl.
True.
Like,
oh my God,
what are you talking about?
Yeah. You're made for this.
Yes, literally.
She said
I guess that probably makes the pressure higher though. She's like, if I fail this scream, dad's gonna be so
dad's
disappointed.
Gonna be upset. Imagine. I'm sure she showed him a take or two. That'd be so cute. Oh my God,
some big vocal cords to step into.
Yeah, truly. So I thought it was cute that she said she was so nervous. Obviously, she was like, I've never had a scream like this before. In one of the takes when she's going down the hall to confront the man in the mask, she lets out like a scream, and she said she wasn't actually expecting it to come out because, you know, she's like in the moment. But in the BTS video, it's really cute because she like turns to the crew after she does it and like giggles, and she lets out a hell of a scream too. But then she immediately turns to them. She's like, "I did it."
Oh my God, I love that. That's
like,
so
cute.
It
makes it so much. So I feel like the vibe overall on this set, like unlike the actors, I feel like in Funny Games, they seem like they were having a good time.
Paul were having a great time on Funny Games. The two of them would like go out drinking every night and just like have a great time. It was
God,
it was the mom and dad who weren't having
fun and games for them.
Too much fun, too much game.
Liv Tyler also developed tonsillitis during the filming, which I was like, I don't know if that was due to screaming.
Yeah, is that a thing?
But I said, get your tonsils out.
Yeah,
I don't know. Just everybody, come on.
Been trying for years and they still won't let me, man.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's awful. I'm sorry.
I know. Somebody take my tonsils already. Come on.
I'll take them.
Please.
Give me supplies.
Anybody.
We'll get you with the Funny Games, guys.
Great.
We'll do it.
Now that
for free.
I'm interested in on multiple
You don't need
levels.
health insurance. So the director went oh my God, I didn't write his name. Was dealing with like the sound guys, and he said he wanted to have some like motivational sounds in this film. So like the wind chimes, the smoke alarm going off. And he wanted it to be loud because he said noises like that are startling to both us, the actors, characters, which is, I think it's kind of cool that they had a big soundboard on set and they would like play all these noises kind of like behind
That's so satisfying.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, they really made it like an immersive experience. Also, those noises did startle me and my dogs.
Oh, there you go.
My dogs were not a fan of this film. They're like, who's that? I'm like, we're not actually. I'm glad I actually
So
did watch it during the day because I hate when my dogs start like boofing at the door and I'm like, stop it. There's no one there. Is there someone there?
Yeah.
Please don't tell me.
That's so funny. My cat has become such a horror movie fan. She gets like angry if I start any of our Splice movies without her. She like comes running into the room and like sits
Movie
right by the TV.
time.
Yeah, it's really cute.
My soul dog, every time I would get home from work Wednesday, we would have movie time, and that's where she would puppy nap. When I first got her, is we would like I'd come home and we'd watch a movie and she'd nap for a couple hours and then we'd like get out on our day. Isn't that cute that animals do that? I love animals.
I love that.
It's so cute. Our little horror
Wednesday.
animals.
I know. It's so
Mabel's
good.
learning. So I found an interview with the re-recording mixer, Marty D. Humphrey, which is like a great name.
Great name.
He said one of the things that he'd enjoyed doing on this type of film was the building of suspense by utilizing those dynamics. And so like in this film, they obviously use a lot of quiet sounds and subliminal parts to kind of help with the storytelling process. That's where that like low hum comes from, which is why I think people didn't realize the static was not supposed to be there. Which is so funny. He then says, like, as a team, it was their goal to provide just enough presence with that low music to maintain the person's focus on the picture on screen and not to really distract the viewer to, like, the impending horror that was about to take place, which I do think it did a really good job.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't really get to my opinion. We'll save that for the last.
I'm so excited.
So I realized I like totally breezed over it. So
you teed us up.
I did. I teed you up and then I just
waiting.
left you hanging.
Yep.
I'm playing a funny game.
You're
with
playing
you
a
guys.
funny game, Al.
So this film also does that thing that I love that I think we talked about on like one of our first episodes, which is play like a happy song in these moments. So the song was Mama Tried by Merle Haggard. And I just love the juxtaposition. That's always going to get me.
It was very your next start too.
It's always going to get me.
I can't wait to show you Suspiria / other Dario Argento stuff. The Happy Goblin songs. You're going to love them.
I know. I told Siena for their birthday, we're going to do 2 Dario Argentos.
Yeah.
So that's going to be the goal.
That's what a birthday.
See, I love it. Yeah. Oh, I'm excited because it's never not a good time for me.
Yeah.
It may be cliched. People might like be like, oh, I'm sick of this. I fucking will never get sick of it. I am sorry. It is funny.
It's always good.
It's always good.
Always works. Yep.
So speaking of how I feel about things, some of the feelings of terror. This is a very short section. Liv Tyler has an interview where she said like mentally she was okay, but physically she said she got a bunch of bumps, bruises, burns, scrapes, and said physically she was a mess from this. And I'm like, damn.
Burns. What did she get burnt? I mean, I guess that the scene where she's poking
maybe just
the
rug burn
fire. Also, I was like really
floor burn.
That's possible.
Wood burn.
I was wood burn.
I'm trying to think of other burns.
I was really salt burn.
Heartburn. Stupid.
Good. Moving right along.
Yeah. What were you saying?
I have no idea.
Okay, sorry. Moving on.
I was saying I was really scared that her hair was gonna get lit on fire when she was leaning over the
See, that's where you would be doomed and I'd be okay.
Yeah,
They can't grab me and they can't pull me back. Also, I'm
easily
gonna be honest,
grabbable.
I'd be chopping that shit off so fast.
That's smart. That's smart.
They kept using that as a weapon. I'd be like,
oh yeah,
it's going off.
Nope.
Cutting this real quick.
This is gonna be the death of me.
Kind of.
Yeah.
That could get. We have to watch Final Destinations. That would be the way you would die. That shit would get caught in something and your scalp would get ripped off.
Perfect.
Siena's way out.
Make a body easily identifiable, though, at the very least.
She found her hair at the scene of the crime.
And nothing else.
And nothing else. Another thing Liv did, which again, there's like little footage. God, she's a peach.
Yeah.
She would just like take laps before to get out of breath and sweaty because she's like, you can't just go into like screaming.
No,
from sitting
you
down.
need to work yourself up into it. Yeah.
But yeah, they kept it really chill on set, which again for horror films is always kind of nice to see what it's like behind the scenes because I worry about people.
Yeah.
So our boy Vinny, the makeup artist we were talking about, I'm kind of moving into like the look of terror.
Yes.
He was responsible mainly for like the prosthetics. I think he was like the key makeup artist for this. For Mike, who has like that face wound that we see when he gets like shot.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Dennis.
So, yeah, Dennis.
Yeah.
Not Mike, Dennis.
I was like, I'm sorry, who?
Yeah, Always Sunny.
Yeah.
So, he had multiple prosthetics for Mike on that face that showcased the wound.
Oh, interesting.
So,
I was impressed by that wound.
It was cool. Well done. Yeah, so they had a bunch of them. I like at least like 3 or 4. So So they have the fresh kill one, which even has little details of like shrapnel from the bullet in it.
Wow.
And then the Mike is going bad, which is what they called it. The Mike is going bad prosthetic that shows like the skin starting to deteriorate. And even like they did the makeup where it's like, you know, if you're laying on your side so much, the blood starts to pool and you start to splotch in places. So the attention to detail, I thought, on just little things like that in this film were really great.
I've got to say, you can very much tell that this is a film from 2008 because the sheer fact that Glenn Howerton is on screen for such a brief period of time before he gets killed, you can tell that this is early Always Sunny days.
I figured too that this was like before the time, his time.
This would have been like what, season 3 or something.
I love seeing people in movies like this where you look back and you're like, oh my god, how were they?
Nobody knew you then.
What is it? Disturbia? Was it Viola Davis? Yes. We're like, what? Before
in
she
an
was
unnamed role. Yeah.
Insane. Unnamed like cop role. It's fun. So the strangers themselves. Yes. So the finale of the film was actually supposed to have a lot more dialogue interactions between Kristen and I wrote James, and the strangers. But in order to keep the strangers mysterious, they obviously took the dialogue out, which I'm like, that's not scary.
We don't want to hear
start
them
like
talking.
blabbing about telling me your life story. I'm gonna find your weaknesses.
If you want the dialogue to be scary, it has to be like the dialogue in Funny Games, where it's like there's no humanity to them. There's nothing. There's nothing you can pull at. It's just more sadism underneath the sadism.
No, absolutely. So the man in the mask is the only stranger who doesn't have dialogue in this film. And actually the actor kind of speaking to that, I think was interesting, is he said that he thinks to him, he felt like Dollface was the leader of the group and not Man in the Mask. And he also says he believes that this was the first time they ever did a kill.
It feels like, especially because they say at the end, like, next time will be easier.
Yeah, I think it's again, there's your fun, like, tee off to a franchise. Like,
which also feels very, very Manson. The idea that it's like these inexperienced killers too.
That's where I think, you know, if they would have had dialogue, they would have had to make it like super fumbly. Like this is their first time they're trying to sound scary, but then I'm like, is that scary?
Then it becomes more Scream, which like, because then it's like horror comedy, right?
True. Yeah. I'm glad they kept it to a minimum.
Right choice.
And then I wrote here, the main reason we don't see their faces is because the Universal Studios wanted to do sequels and they wanted to be able to recast them. So I think it's genius. I don't know. That's a very studio thing to do. So
it is a very studio thing to do.
The alternate endings and director's cut. So due to the film being like underestimated, which is why people kind of call it like a sleeper hit, which is crazy to think about because I feel like it's again such conversation
and huge budget or a huge return on the budget.
Huge return. That's why I was a sleeper. So Brian had a lot of freedom with directing and editing, like helping with editing of the film. So the first cut was actually like 100 minutes long. They screen tested it. The audience like found parts that just like didn't resonate so much. One of those scenes they cut was when James grabbed the father's gun after being tormented. The audience believes like that wasn't realistic. There was also like a heart-to-heart scene between Kristen and James about the relationship and the proposal that felt too long, which I'm like,
we don't need that.
We get context. Yeah. I think that's where like Vacancy went right to, is they didn't spend too much, and when it came out in these bursts kind of throughout.
We see it through the action.
Yeah, which they
that's
hated
what it should
each
be.
other in real life anyway, so
great.
And ultimately they ended up cutting like 25 minutes out of the theatrical release, which I think is
that's a huge chunk. Interesting.
They really pared
I mean, it
down.
Is short. It's like an hour 25, something like that.
Yeah, it's tiny. So why is it scary?
Yeah. Why is it scary? Is it scary to you, Al? You seem scared of that question.
I am. So I wrote like statistics down here. So I wrote like, obviously home invasions. I like that's why it's scary.
Yeah.
I wrote like, I don't know why I wrote down facts. I wrote on average, burglary happens every 30 seconds. And in 2022 there were 847,000 burglaries. 57% of those were residential burglaries.
Oh, that's a lot.
I was going to do the math, but I didn't want to. I couldn't calculate 57%.
Somewhere around like 450.
Yeah,
something like that.
So it's a lot. I'm sure it's
that's fine.
So
Again,
I just
math not real.
Yeah, so I just think it's that innate fear of like you deem your place your home. It's your sanctuary. It's your safe place. It's the place that you go. And that illusion being shattered is super scary. And then again, that like debate of like horror or thriller or terror film, I think is that feeling of terror. You don't feel horror of someone breaking in. I think you're like terrified.
Yeah. I think there are a couple of moments in funny games that feel like true horror to me. I don't know if there are moments in this that feel like horrifying in that way. I think like that 10-minute long take. That to me feels like horror.
Yeah. This feels very much like terror. Director Brian, again, in interviews said that I think sometimes horror gets overlooked. Snaps. He thinks that most people don't want to think it's an intelligent. Wow, I sound intelligent. I'm sorry that over. He thinks most people don't think it's an intelligent genre, and that it can have like this kind of character development in it. I think both these films really, and if it makes people more comfortable, then they can call it a thriller. But he was like, I tend to look at it more like as horror terror. I just like that he is sticking up for the genre. As someone who like didn't do a lot of stuff, I just appreciate the love of the genre. And everyone else is wrong. That horror isn't intelligent. So I may not be as a horror fan.
We don't have to be. That's what the movies are for.
I'm going to touch on some themes, which you kind of spoke about. The film has been noted by scholar Philip Simpson as highlighting the divide between the unprivileged and the privileged classes. So obviously the opposite. There's a couple things.
Are my film theory rant corners rubbing off on you? I love to see this. Warren, look what I've done. This is great.
I didn't realize this is film theory rant corner.
You're going in and pulling out theorists talking about the meaning of the film. I love this.
Yay me. Everyone give me praise.
I'm so pleased.
I'm gonna have my own little cheer section now for my.
Well, now we need to get two different film theory rant corner sounds from Theo so that we can distinguish them.
So Simpson goes on to say, The Strangers, as many horror films do, undermines the conventional notion of rural society as a simpler, crime-free place, which I didn't even think about it in that aspect.
I thought of it as like the suburbs. That's really interesting.
Yeah. So it's more rural. One might call the narrative like informing the strangers of, they were calling it like pastoral paranoia, which I thought was really interesting.
I love that term.
There was like a whole deep dive I wanted to go on that, but I was like, again, I'm at like 9 pages on my notes, so look it up yourselves.
This is you're discovering the struggles of the rant corner.
I know, you really have to pare it down. So within that, he kind of talks about how like danger lurks among the rough folk and the country folk rather than the suburbs and cities. But the idea that this kind of like stranger upon stranger violence typically is associated with urban only isn't true. Like there is this kind of it does spread to rural. And I wrote like, I think it's interesting because as someone who's like predominantly lived in cities, this is like the least cityest place.
Interesting.
So I've always lived in like Detroit, LA, Chicago.
By comparison, Santa Fe is
under
so small. 100,000 people.
So, I'm more afraid of crime in rural places than I am in cities because I just know to expect it. So I did think it was kind of
and see, because I grew up in a rural area with a lot of crime, I was just like, this happens. Yeah, this happens. Yeah.
New Mexico's not the best place for us to talk about lack of crime in rural parts.
Particularly, the parts of New Mexico I come from.
Yeah.
I looked out of my tattoos.
I love New Mexico, though. So some other themes I thought that were kind of interesting that could be pointed out was a scholar, Tony Williams' book has Hearths of Darkness, The Family in American Horror Film. It's a 2014 book. Yeah, really cool. He notes that the film's setting within that like 1970s era, like home, is representative of obviously the American tradition of violence that's kind of like random without coherent explanation. which
Again, very
is what I
funny
think.
games. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. There was that idea of like
hits it.
the American serial killer as this
Yeah.
like completely remorseless psychopath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And then he also kind of says like the three masked assailants are like metaphors for the repressed and unresolved tensions affecting the couple inside the house too, which I thought
Ooh.
I feel like this book probably is
Ooh.
really
This sounds
great
very
and
up my
your
alley. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Tony Williams, Hearths of Darkness. So the impact on this film kind of had. This is where I'm probably going to start to get into my opinion. So
Bring us
the
in.
director Brian again said that this film was he really wanted people to connect with this film and really feel like they went through this experience, which just sounds like that was your experience with this film is you feel like
I was
it scared you.
Yeah. I didn't think it was like doing anything that like surprising, but it like hit the beats in a way that worked for me.
Yeah.
You know?
Kurt Russell agrees.
Oh, me and Kurt Russell, man. We get along on everything.
He says this film always scares him. He said it like a 27 interview, which I think is just so funny. I just love the Russell family.
All people. Yeah. That's so interesting.
So,
thanks,
you guys
Kurt.
agree.
Thanks for the backup. Friend of the podcast, Kurt Russell.
Yeah, oh my God, I would love to get Wyatt Russell on here. One day. So again, they called this film like a sleeper hit because they weren't really expecting it to
pop off,
do that well. And it totally did. So mainly they said due to its gritty realism and outstanding performances, the suspense, that's kind of all the reasons people really liked it. Also, again, people killing just to kill is like super scary. I wrote like statistically 76% of females are murdered. Wait, murderers? Murders. Yeah. It's hot, y'all. Statistically, 76% of female murders and 56% of male murders are by someone who knows the victim. So again, I think to those statistics, like the idea of, I don't know, I feel like as humans, like wrapping around like, oh, this person could have a motive, there could be a reason, versus like a stranger, like what? It goes back to the why me? Why me? Why me over my neighbor? Why me over this? Versus like someone you know, at least you can like, I don't know. I feel like our brains just try to grasp onto something, but with the stranger, what do you do?
There is no thing.
There's nothing to grab onto.
There. Yeah. As Joan Didion would say.
Yeah. So critics' response, it has a 6.1 out of 10 on IMDb.
That's surprisingly high.
And a 49% Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow. That's normally
many people that like this film.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Shocked. Do I agree?
I wonder what the audience score is, because oftentimes the critic and audience scores are different.
It's probably higher. Because everyone, higher. So again, going back to like everyone talks about this film is so wrapped up in like culture, pop culture, conversation. I think again a lot of non-horror fans get this film.
Tell us.
Okay, how do I say this? I'm just gonna be bold. I thought this was such a snoozeville. I was so bored.
I loved it.
I was like checking the time.
Oh my God, fascinating.
I thought Vacancy did it 1,000% better. They felt like the same film, but this one was worse.
Yeah. That's so interesting. I had a better time with this film than with Vacancy.
I was bored to tears. Wow. Bored to tears.
Whoa.
Kill him already.
Oh my God, I love this.
Just same thing. I was like, what even happened?
Yeah.
I don't know what I watched.
That's fascinating.
That's why it was very refreshing to watch Fun and Games after. So this might be the first film that I remember liking it when it came out, but I think I liked the hype of it.
Oh, that's so interesting.
And
and it didn't live up on. Well, and I think it's also horror films that don't have like an extra wrinkle to them don't hold up that well on rewatch, I think, a lot of the time, because like if it's something where the whole goal is just to scare you and everything is directed at that, once the newness of it wears off, it becomes less scary.
Yeah, I don't know why people still talk about. I don't know.
So funny.
I don't think I'll ever watch it a day in my life again.
Wow. Okay, what score would you give it?
I'm going to agree with Roger Ebert here, who
Yes.
gave it a 1.5 stars. He said, my mistake was that I read the interview with the director at the beginning of the review of The Strangers. He gave it a 1 star. He thought it was maddening, nihilistic, infuriating ending. He thought what a waste of a perfectly good first act.
Wow.
He looked up an interview with Brian and said how young he was. It was his first feature, and so he gave him a 0.5 star because he felt bad.
Roger.
He says still harsh, yes.
Yeah.
I think a lot of audience members will walk out really angry at the ending, although it has.
I did think the ending was dumb.
It was annoying. Yeah. It was annoying.
The
I was annoyed.
The scream, I was just like.
It's
It
that last,
didn't.
like, punch. It was very 2000s. I'm gonna be honest. It was very, like, that last little punch
Yeah,
that they could
it's
get.
very well, and it's like such a clear ripoff of Carrie. That's like they're doing a Carrie.
Oh, yeah. I think your next, again, because I covered those two, I think your next, Vacancy, are far superior films. I think they have a lot more going on. I think there's a lot more, not only more emotion, I think happening in Vacancy, there's a lot more turmoil. I think a lot of that had to do with what was going on behind the scenes on set with the two actors.
Fair.
And then I think your next executed it way more perfectly with like adding that like meta comedy element to it. I just thought like, I was like, is she just going to keep looking at the window? And then there's a slow-mo door opening. And then I'm like, oh.
There was a point where it started to feel like...
It just felt like the same. And I was like surprised that it wasn't a long movie. Because boy,
I thought... It feels like there's fat on the bones.
Yeah. I think there needed to be an extra...
It feels like there's fat on the meat. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Right?
You
know what I'm saying.
Yeah. There was extra... They could have
gory
trimmed
metaphor. Insert here. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would give it a 1. I really didn't like it. And I was really like, now I know. Because every time someone talks to me, I was like, oh, I like The Strangers. Oh, I'm excited to watch it again.
Wow. Because I would have given it like a 3.
Ugh, we're not doing that on
solid watch.
Letterboxd. We can give Funny Games was awesome.
Yeah, what would you rate Funny Games?
I would give like a 4.5.
Yeah.
It was great. I don't know. It was shot great. Now I need to rewatch it and see the full meta-ness of it. I get it now. I'm in on the joke.
I mean, like, one of the things, I'm just gonna like put this in your head so that if you either rewatch it or go back and watch the 2007 version.
I'm gonna this week for sure.
I want to hear from you, especially because I haven't seen the 2007 version yet. Because when I was reading articles about this one, a lot of people were saying that the 2007 one feels like it sexualizes Naomi Watts much more than
I'm
this
sure
one.
it does. To be fair, I was like really happy they didn't do that as much. I didn't know if we were going to talk about that. I sometimes have a thing with like horror, like that close up of her face. That's what I wanted to see to make me. That might have been the turning point for me actually.
Yeah.
I just hate like the gratuitous for no reason.
Exactly, and like to me,
and you can, or like. Not for no reason, but like I feel like it's like, oh, this is sexy, let's put this in there, versus like this character is feeling this and this is
coming. It's motivated by the narrative.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of times it's not.
A lot of the time it's not,
and it bums me out sometimes.
And you know, it's interesting. It feels like usually the stereotype of the like sadistic male killer like this, usually there's like a sexual element to it. And I was watching it and I was remembering from the first time thinking like finding it very surprising that there's as little of a sexual element in the movie as there is.
Yeah,
and like
it didn't need to be there.
It didn't need to be there. It's still like there's really no sexual motivation behind the crimes.
Yeah.
But the second watch, I felt much more like there's intended to be a kind of sexual tension between Paul and the audience. Like the way that Paul keeps like winking at you or being like the way exactly. This is why I'm like,
just
go back
autistic
and watch
I
it
can't read some signs.
But like the way
someone's
even
winking at me.
Even though like even when Paul is like Georgie is like trying to shoot him with the gun, Paul is like, you just need to cock it. Like there's like little things like that, and then he'll like look at the audience where I'm like, oh, maybe part of maybe part of the reason why there isn't that like sexual violence between the characters is it's like the foreplay between the character and the audience, not the character and the other characters.
Totally. I liked that. Yeah. That's fun to play with.
Yeah, totally.
And it's different. So
yeah.
Loved Funny Games. Never gonna watch Strangers again.
Fascinating.
Interested to maybe watch
the
other
new
ones.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I might just dip a toe just to see. I'm curious like where it's gone and like what the new ones are gonna do, because who knows? I don't know. Just because I thought the first one was snoozefell. Performances were great.
It wasn't badly shot.
I liked Vacancy and Your Next Better. Those are going to be the ones if I want a home invasion or like an invasion.
Yeah.
Funny Games too. I think I would just go back to those ones.
Yeah.
Last House. Like,
I
just have
classic
far better ones.
Yeah.
So on that note, reminder, we're playing Psycho.
Yeah, come watch Psycho with us. I'm fucking stoked for that. I've never seen it on the big screen.
Well, I'm excited to talk. So we're talking about Psycho and Rosemary's Baby.
Yep.
I haven't seen it on the big screen, I don't think either. And I love Norman Bates.
And this is, I think, only our second time ever where you're doing the older film. because you're taking.
Oh my
you're
God, I
taking
am.
Psycho. I mean, they're
Is
both
Rosemary?
old.
I was gonna say they're both. Yeah.
Rosemary's Baby is 68.
68.
So 8 years later,
Yeah.
Psycho was 60.
Ah,
So,
I'm so excited to talk.
It's gonna be a
talk
great
about this. Yeah. So
pairing.
Jean Cocteau Cinema. By the time you hear this, tickets should be out and
Mhm.
available May 9th,
Yeah.
10th, 11th. Or wait, 10th, 11th, 12th.
10th, 11th, 12th. Yeah.
And
Come
so it's
watch
a
with
Friday,
us.
Saturday, Sunday.
I'm sure we'll probably be there at one of them.
Yeah. We'll be there at one of them. So
we'll post and tell you which one.
Yeah. But till then, if you want to, this episode is actually going to be out on our YouTube, the full episode.
Yes, it
so
is.
youtube.com/Splice Splatter Pod, patreon.com/GRRM. We're on social media, Splice Splatter Pod, everywhere.
Except for X and Letterboxd, we're Splice Splatter because they don't like.
We also
ands.
find us in any one of those. We got a link tree, folks.
You can find us pretty easily. We try to make it simple for you.
Yeah. So.
And also, thank you for the ratings. I saw we got a couple more ratings, which was really sweet.
Thanks.
Please
Yeah, we
keep
met
those
some of
coming.
you over the weekend at
that
Dawn
was
of the
really
Dead,
sweet.
and
Love
you're
to get to meet.
so cool.
Yeah.
Everyone's
all of
so
y'all
cool.
have such great shirts, man.
Yeah, really
we
good
have,
horror
the
shirts.
best dressed
y'all
horror
are
fans.
awesome.
It was really exciting to
thanks.
see. Shout out to that House of a Thousand Corpses shirt guy. I'm still thinking about that.
Pee-wee's House of a Thousand Corpses, or Pee-wee's
So
Playhouse
good.
of a
Thousand Corpses.
Yeah, that was great.
Amazing.
Thank you to today we just got Warren Langford in the room doing
to Warren Langford,
sound
the OG.
and cam today.
Master
Bless him.
Jack of all trades.
Yeah. And Theo Schaefer for this awesome music that you listen to. Never gets old. I'm getting old.
We're old. We're pumpkins.
Getting old, so we're gonna head out.
Without further ado, watch Psycho with us.
Yeah. And we'll see you next time.
We'll be right back.